daughter could go in and bat her eyelashes and like
Good morning, Christopher.
into like her followers. Just all the boys would just follow her around. How you feeling today? From a father perspective, it's scary as hell. Right? Scared me. It is. Uh-oh. The kids and they might. I don't know. We'll just punt. It'll be at the end of the day. Yeah. No. Right.
Good morning.
If we didn't have
There we go.
And then let me
Hello.
share my screen.
All right, that looks good.
oh dear, everybody knows about Soraya.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Christopher.
Yeah, because we don't have any.
I think we're good to go.
So you know.
We good, Sam? All right, I'm going to call this meeting of February 3rd, regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors to order. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. We'll start out. Do any supervisors have a moment of silence today? No. We'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Rickelman, would you please lead us today? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any extra items this morning?
We have no extra items, Chair.
Thank you. We'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Is there anyone on the board that wishes to pull any items from the consent agenda this morning? Hearing none. Any members of the public? Hearing none, we'll move. Do we have public comment?
Yes, sir.
Come forward, please, sir. If you'd state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes for public.
Yes, sir.
Or, I'm sorry, this is not public comment, but consideration of consent agenda, if you have.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm for another issue, but I need the 3 minutes.
okay.
Now or
So,
later?
no, it's going to be just a second. Hang on. Was there anyone online, Johanna? Okay, so we're going to move it back to the board for action on the consent.
Mr. Chair, I would like to pull and just have a brief discussion. I feel I need to at least discuss it. Item 5.1.
5.1. Okay. With that, is there any further from the board, or we're ready for action?
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve consent agenda items 5.2 through 5.6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. We will now move on to our timed items, and our 902 item will be public input. So you can come forward, sir.
Good morning. I'm Patrick Ridgel, citizen of Lucerne, a resident of Lucerne. I'm here not for the first time for this, but it's been quite a while. The first, I believe, part of the docket there is considering a trip to Hawaii.
Okay, sir, that item was pulled from the consent agenda, and it's going to be taken up, so comments about that would have to come when that item gets called.
Okay, so can I just, you want me to wait till it's called?
Yes, you're going to have to wait because it's
Okay.
a separate item. Yes, please state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
All right. Good morning. My name is Sterling. I'm here today regarding the Robin Lane sewage spill and the serious inconsistencies on how they reported the incident to the state. Lake County Special Districts publicly acknowledged that approximately 2.9 million gallons of untreated sewage was released roughly around 37 to 38 hours. Residents described a river of sewage. Videos show active discharge days later. Vacuum trucks were deployed and pumping occurred at multiple lift stations. What is now being claimed, however, it is that only 3,900 gallons were reported to the state. For that record, 3,900 gallons would be exhausted in minutes, not hours. From a 16-inch force main, the volume cannot produce widespread ponding, saturated soils, or groundwater contaminants. Yet all three were observed. That makes the 3,900-gallon figure physically and mathematically impossible. The Lake County Special Districts also stated approximately 30 pumper trucks were used at the pumping occurring at lift stations feeding the force main. That omission raises a critical issue. If lift stations were not turned off, then pumps were actively forcing sewage towards a known break for hours. If lift stations were turned off, sewage would have backed up into gravity lines, manholes, and potentially people's homes, creating additional unreported spills everywhere. There is no scenario where only 3,900 gallons were discharged. California law does not limit spills reported to what hit a ditch. Discharge into soil and groundwater is still a reportable discharge. Reporting only what was visibly recovered while excluding the infiltrated the ground is an inferior report and undermines state oversight and public health protections. This is not a paperwork issue. Underreport to the state is a compliance issue. I'm going to try today. I know it's public comment. You guys can't respond to it, but I would like to set a motion. Maybe you guys can put it on the agenda later to ask special districts and get those pump logs. We need to know when the pumps are off, if they were ever off. We got backflow coming from the 10-inch valve that never shut off. There's videos on YouTube where you can literally see consistent water. And if it was at 3,900 gallons, then that would be about 17 gallons per minute coming out of that line. Literally impossible to have a river running down. So I am going to hand these over, and you guys can look at them. And I just want to make sure this is on record that I am going to request this because the public does deserve to know. And next on the agenda down, we're going to be talking about a geothermal plant next to an infrastructure that can't even withstand a rainwater that came in a week before, and then you have a major break. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's this if you guys want it.
Do we have anyone else in the room for public comment on items not on the agenda?
Good morning.
Yes.
Rachel Dillman Parsons, Social Services Director. I'm just following up on a question from our governance meeting last week that I don't feel like I answered entirely with regard to IHSS percentages. So they have been described in the past as 50% federal, 32% state, and 18% county. But that's not entirely accurate because there are 3 different IHSS programs with different sharing ratios. So the average across the 3 for us here in Lake County with the cost shift to counties through CIFCO penalties is closer to 33% state, or excuse me, 33% federal, 41% state, and 26% county. But the percentages aren't really the story. When I say 70% of realignment is going towards this, that is the 26% county share. So overall, the problem really is our medium-sized caseload in a small county. Thank you.
Thank you. Please come forward and state your name for the record.
Good morning. My name's Amanda. I am the executive director of the Lucerne Alpine Senior Center, and I'm just here today because I wanted to bring a situation within our organization to the county's eye. Our center will be forced to close within the next year if we continue at our same rate as of today. Over the last several years, we've done everything that is accepted and responsible of a nonprofit. We've maximized our AAA funding and our typical county funding, and it still just isn't efficient to keep us running like for general operations. I know we're kind of a smaller entity and are often, overseen in a small rural area. But, just want to say not a lack of effort or oversight. It's just a structural funding gap that we can no longer absorb. The Lucerne Alpine Senior Center closes. The need doesn't, disappear. The seniors lose access to meals and social connection, and that impact shifts directly to the county through increased isolation and health decline and demand on emergency and social services. So I'm just here today respectfully to maybe ask the board to consider the Lucerne Alpine Senior Center through any, budget allocations or deliberations, whether through direct operational support or bridge funding or direction to county staff to maybe work with us personally, anything. We're definitely just here to make everybody aware of the situation. Not necessarily any handouts. We continue to apply for grants, and we've gotten approved and then defunded through a few of them last year. Last year was a pretty big struggle, I think, for everybody. But yeah, that's it, just making the situation public and everybody aware of what's happening at a small but really impactful resource for the community. Thank you for your
Thank you.
consideration.
Please state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Chair Rasmussen and Supervisors. Margot Kambara. Your board proclaimed January 2026 as Trafficking Awareness Month. Thank you for calling attention to this horrible crime. To keep our community safe, organizations work together to bring the Polly Klaas Foundation's program, How to Stay Safe Online and in the Real World, to Lake County. Special thanks go to several people such as Rotary member April Lieferman for recognizing the need and bringing the Polly Klaas Foundation program to Lake County. Rotary area Governor Mark Lips encouraged Lake County Rotary clubs to work together on this program. And Vice Chair Pyska and Supervisor Crandall funded part of the program. Thank you and congratulations to the organizations that contributed to the program's success. Lake County Rotary Clubs, Lake County School Districts, Lake County Office of Education, and Lake Family Resource Center. The program that Tom Lasik and I attended was well attended. Public engagement was high, including youth participation. The program's design favored success. Meal, child care, door prizes, and prizes for pop quiz responses, all free to participants. Future support for this and similar efforts to protect our community from trafficking and other dangers is well warranted. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. My name is Tom Lasik. I want to echo what the previous member of the public mentioned about the sewage spill. I've been up here before, and I've mentioned to you that, you know, mistakes this big don't happen by mistake. There seems to be a variety of missteps that caused this to occur. One that concerns me is a pattern of trivialization and dismissal of serious health and safety concerns that I've seen over the past several months. It's one thing to inherit a system of defective water and sewer pipes, but it's another thing not to have a plan to upgrade them and make them or replace them. And it's quite another thing not to understand that it's actually a problem. And that brings to me a great concern. I saw this first with the Spring Valley water system back in the fall. It's a 12.5-mile water system that I think in 2025 had something on the order of 60 breaks in it. The standard for a failed system is 1 break per 100 mile in a year. When this was brought to the attention of the Earth Town Hall, there was denial that that was a problem because, oh, we're a poor county, so it's okay. The MEC doesn't care about your economic standing, it cares about the quality of the line. In that same meeting, there was a concern about the asbestos. And these are asbestos-lined pipes. When they break, they release a lot of fibers. This was brought up as a concern by the citizens. Again, that was dismissed as not being an issue, when in fact EPA, OSHA, and Cal EPA all say that these things need to be flushed and tested before the line is brought back into service. Last week, as was mentioned, we only claimed that only 3,900 gallons was spilled, and seems to be some creative math. And then Supervisor Owen brought up the point that if you have roots in your sewer line, that means you've got holes. And again, I felt that that was trivialized and dismissed by saying that, oh, it just stays in the trench. These trenches aren't lined. They go straight to the ground. There seems to be a pattern of not taking the issue seriously. It's one thing to inherit a problem system, but if you don't even see there's a problem that needs to be fixed, you're not going to fix it. You're not going to replace it. You're not going to repair it. You're not going to ask for help. You're not going to ask for funding. You're just going to let it keep happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Not seeing any. Johanna, do we have any online? iPhone 7, if you can state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Guy Laywell, Pillsbury Family Farms. Earlier this week, I was told by Community Development that I had failed to pay my 2024 annual compliance fee. That claim was wrong, and I was able to provide proof of payment. Staff later confirmed the truth, that the fee had been entered twice, and that one entry appeared to be deleted, which was my payment. And they said it was a departmental error. I appreciate that staff acknowledged the mistake. Staff also acknowledged that I do my best to maintain compliance. But acknowledgement is not the same as accountability. When the government system fails, it is the public who bears the risk. Permits, licenses, and livelihoods hang in the balance. Internal errors should not land as external consequences. And my second concern is a little bit more serious because it goes to the heart of public trust. When I submit public records requests to the tax collector's office asking for policies, I never receive any policies or documentation. All I receive are my own emails sent back to me. It is not compliance, it comes off as deflection. Public records law is not a suggestion. It exists to ensure transparency and not to create a paper loop that leads nowhere. When residents ask for records and they're given their own words back, the message is clear. There is no path forward. This county does not need clever maneuvering or legal gray areas. It needs a system that works and answers that are direct and transparency that is real. If the public cannot obtain records and cannot rely on county systems and must constantly prove errors that they did not make, then the trust is not strained, it is already broken. And I urge this board to take a hard look at the direction and not the intentions. Transparency is measured by the outcomes and not assurances. And as of right now, the outcomes are failing the public. Muleha.
Thank you. Johanna, any further? Cassandra, if you can state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Cassandra Hulbert. Thank you, members of the board. I live on Robin Lane, directly impacted by the recent sewage spill caused by the rupture in infrastructure owned and overseen by special districts. I just want to piggyback off of what Sterling and the previous gentleman was stating. What was actually reported as what they gathered rather than what was spilled, they reported that they have actually sucked up more than what was spilled, which would include potential groundwater as well as other factors. So if the report is that they gathered more than what was spilled, how can they say, special districts, as a fact, that 3,900 gallons was spilled if you don't know the actual amount that was released? We were told in the first city hall meeting, days after the incident, the ongoing incident, that they would have invoices from the pumper trucks informing the public, letting us know what those invoices had to say. These numbers still have not been publicly released. I have sent numerous public record requests as well as SERPAs, and those do me nothing if I do not get a response. So I just want to bring attention to the amounts that are being reported, publicly reported, and many people are paying attention, and it is an impossible mathematical fact. And I'm just one of many that is recognizing that and waiting for accountability in this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Johanna? We have no more hands online. I'm going to go ahead and close public comment, and we're going to move on to our 903 item, which is Pet of the Week.
Hello and good morning. I'm Officer Early with Lake County Animal Control, and this is Roland. He's about a year old, presumably a Labradoodle mix of some sort. He's very sweet. He's got a lot of energy, but he loves to just sit, and his favorite pastime is being brushed. He's very good with other dogs, and I think he'd make a very good family dog, or even just a one-on-one type kind of dog. If you're interested in him or any of the other dogs, You could come down to the shelter at 4949 Hellbush Drive here in Lakeport and come meet your new best buddy. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Do we, anything from the board or members of the public? No, we'll go ahead and close that item and move on to our 6.3904 item, new and noteworthy at the library. We have our library director.
Thank you, board, for giving me just a few minutes to talk about what's new and noteworthy at the library. This month, I want to highlight the novel The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny by Kiran Desai. Kiran Desai is a celebrated Indian author and the youngest woman to win the Man Booker Prize for her novel, The Inheritance of Loss. Her work often explores themes of identity, migration, and the complexities of human relationships across different cultures. Kiran Desai currently lives in New York City. In The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny, Desai delivers a poignant and masterfully written story that captures the quiet struggles of its two main characters, Sonia and Sunny. Both are Indian immigrants to the United States, whose parents originally tried to force them into an arranged marriage, a match they both resisted until a chance meeting on a train changed everything. Maureen Corrigan for NPR states, it took Kiran Desai nearly 20 years to write her new novel, The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny. I mean this as a sincere tribute when I say I'm amazed it only took her that long. This is a novel of ideas as well as, at its most elemental, a tangled love story. This is a spectacular novel to savor, ruminate over, and even reread. You can request titles through our online library catalog, which has the combined resources of Lake, Sonoma, and Mendocino County library systems. Requesting items is completely free to library patrons, and items are sent to your local branch for you to pick up. I also want to highlight one of our digital resources, LinkedIn Learning. You can log in with your library card through our website and access thousands of premium online classes for free, which can save you over $30 a month. These expert-led video courses help you brush up on in-demand technology, creative, and business skills. Whether you want to learn about artificial intelligence, project management, or improve your photography and design skills, you can take these courses at your own pace. All of this is free with your library card on our website. So you can learn more about our library system at that website, library.lakecountyca.gov, or come visit your local library branch in Lakeport, Clear Lake, Middletown, Upper Lake, or on the Bookmobile. Thanks for listening to what's new and noteworthy at the library.
Thank you, Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, Mr. Veach, I have a question. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I know there's been conversations about being able to check out laundry cards. Is that done and moving forward, or is there still more work needed?
I had an initial meeting with the gentleman who was interested in doing that, but I have not heard back, but we are excited to start that program once we connect with him and get those laundry cards into our system so that people could check them out.
And I always appreciate that your answer is typically yes, let's give it a shot. So I really appreciate that. The idea is laundry cards that the COC would add more money to so that those who are experiencing homelessness can go grab these cards, go get their laundry done, and have a little bit more dignity in their situation, especially during winter time where they get their clothing wet or their other stuff wet. So appreciate that, and we'll make sure that we complete that so we can go ahead and tell the public about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Supervisor Pyska.
yeah, so that's a great idea, and hopefully they'll be available on the Bookmobile too.
Yeah, we would make them available anywhere that they wanted us to let them be available, but usually at all of our branch locations.
That's great, thank you.
Anything further from the board? Not seeing any. Is there any members of the public that wish to speak on this presentation today? Nothing in the room, no hands. Bring it back, and we'll thank you for your presentation today, Mr. Veach.
Thank you.
And next, we're going to move on to our 6.4910 item. We'll be setting as the Lake County Housing Commission for consideration of a letter to Colusa County Board of Supervisors and authorize the chair to sign. And we have our additional commissioner coming up along with with our social services director, and we will turn it over to you to start.
Thank you. So yes, Rachel Dillman Parsons. I am here sitting as the executive director for Lake County's Housing Authority, and I am bringing a letter to you today asking for your approval to Colusa County. They have requested this letter from us before they move forward with expressing their support for our transfer to the Regional Housing Authority. HUD has requested that we get support from all boards within the Regional Housing Authority. I do have some amendments to this letter, so I will read it through, but I want to hand out a copy to you first.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the major change is that I misaddressed it. It needs to go to the City of Colusa City Council, not to the Colusa Board of Supervisors. I misunderstood which agents or board within Colusa was asking for this letter to express their support. The City of Colusa is a member of the Regional Housing Authority in addition to the County of Colusa. I also added some just general clarifications with regard to the opportunities that this transfer would bring. So if your board is so inclined, I am requesting you to approve this letter to the City of Colusa City Council, perhaps with additional feedback from you, and authorizing the chair to sign. So the letter reads as follows. February 3rd, 2026, Mayor Denise Conrado, City of Colusa, City Council, 425 Webster Street, Colusa, California, 95932, regarding mutual benefit of Lake County Housing Commission voluntary transfer to Regional Housing Authority. Dear Mayor Denise Conrado, Mayor Pro Tem Dave Marcus, and City of Colusa Council members, the Lake County Housing Commission, LCHC, thanks you for this opportunity to outline the mutual benefit of voluntarily transferring our Section 8 housing voucher program to Regional Housing Authority, RHA. LCHC is a small public housing authority, PHA, without diverse funding streams. In Lake County, the Housing Authority is administered by the Social Services Department. We operate Section 8 Housing Choice Vouchers, HGV, Veterans Affairs Support Housing, VASH, and have a small remaining caseload of Emergency Housing Vouchers, EHV. PHA programs are not social services funded, and thus there is very little we can do to supplement and grow these programs. As your board is aware, without diverse funding streams, it is difficult to expand housing authority services. LCHC is in good standing with sufficient funding for current operations, but lacks the ability to grow. LCHC's transfer to RHA was suggested by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. RHA is a larger housing authority, thus LCHC funding would enhance funding already managed by the RHA. Section 8 voucher holders already have the choice of where they can live, meaning these families already move between our counties. Families can move to any county they desire, regardless of whether that county is in a regional housing authority. Transfer of LCHC to RHA provides the opportunity to expand housing services, including the development of affordable housing through project-based vouchers, subsequently boosting local economic development, help families receiving federal housing assistance achieve economic independence through increased earnings and savings via the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, increase the ability to address and prevent homelessness due to more staff and combined funding, improve access to housing authority services by building the program due to adequate staffing. The best way to serve the people of Lake County, there's a typo there that I will need to fix before you sign, is to put LCHC in the hands of RHA, an experienced and diverse public housing authority. We respectfully request your support in improving Section 8 housing programs in Lake County and all regions RHA currently serves, including Sutter, Yuba, Colusa, and Nevada, by supporting the voluntary transfer of LCHC to RHA. And then sincerely sign the chair. Feedback other than my typo.
And we'll start with Supervisor Sabatier.
So apologies. Second paragraph, third word, if we can fix that as well. It won't show up on spell check just because it is a word, just missing the Y at the end of county. And then at the bottom on the signature, also underneath the chair, if that can be fixed as well, Lake County.
We could tell I was typing this fast.
Yeah, no, it's obvious there was a last minute change. Just real quick about the last minute change, is the county of Calusa not at all involved? And it just, I mean, this is news to me that
No,
the
the county
is
of
not involved,
Calusa
but the
is
city
involved in the RHA, and the city is involved in the RHA. So when the Regional Housing Authority is taking the show on the road to each of the boards and saying, hey, do you approve the transfer of Lake County into our Regional Housing Authority? The city of Calusa had questions. The county of Calusa did not.
Okay.
The county of Calusa said, yeah, it's fine. The only board that has had questions so far is the city of Calusa, and what they requested was simply a letter explaining what the benefit is to Lake County to help them better understand why we wanted to transfer.
Okay, appreciate it.
Anything further from board, or commissioners, I'm sorry? Not seeing any, then we will go ahead and open this up to the public. We'll start online this time. Johanna, do we have anyone online? Nobody online. Do we have anybody in the room who wishes to comment? Not seeing any, I'll bring it back to the board for anything further. And Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, before making a motion, just want to add real quick, and again, my apologies, on the last paragraph where it says respectfully request, if we can capitalize the C in county as well.
Will do.
And Mr. Chair, I move to approve the letter provided to us as amended.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Not hearing that, motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I forgot about you.
Next, we're going to move on to our 9:15, 6.5 on the agenda. That's consideration of authorizing special districts to develop a proposal with EGX Energy to locate geothermal facilities on the southeast treatment plant property. And we have our Deputy CAO in Economic Development and Special Districts Administrator here to discuss this item. With that, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, Board. Ben Rickelman, Deputy County Administrative Officer. This item today, I'll give a bit of historical context and then where we stand with the project. So the owner of the Pluth Ranch, Tony Lamperty, reached out to EGX Energy about a possible geothermal project that was engaged and explored, and that's still a possibility. With conversations with supervisors, it was suggested to also explore maybe co-locating on the southeast water treatment facility property. So just very preliminary conversations were had with county staff. The site is attractive because there's already been disturbance of the natural environment, so there'd be less of a CEQA burden. There's pretty good road access, which is also attractive. And this is just preliminary analysis, but solid rock, so does not have fractures. And so with these new geothermal technologies, compared to what they call conventional geothermal that was developed in the 20th century, you don't want fractures. So that's also attractive. So with these initial conversations, the kind of high level idea floated would be, because if this project were to occur on county property, there wouldn't be property tax, so there would be a calculation and agreement in lieu of that, so the county is compensated. And then, as we heard earlier and at many other board sessions, there's a lot of needs with our special district session. So there would be some sort of agreement where EGX would provide monetary amount for improvements to special districts outside of the Southeast Water Treatment Plant. So this would be a pretty complicated, large-scale project. It would take a significant amount of time to put together. And as we all know, special districts has a lot of things going on at the moment. So if this were to occur, it would be a consultant, which EGX would finance, to work with EGX to put a proposal together. Of course, special districts and the county would have to agree to it too. And we would come back to the board with that proposal. We do have EGX here, Principal Damien Gerard, and also special districts.
Thank you, Mr. Rickelman. Anything further from you folks before we have questions?
I just want to emphasize, all we're asking at the moment is staff time. So there isn't any approval for this project. There's no real, we're not asking for any analysis of the proposal. We would come back if we got the green light to do that. This project still has to go through all the analysis with the state regulatory bodies. It has to go through the CEQA process. So working with the California Energy Commission. So all the questions and analysis that comes with a geothermal project, all the technical, scientific examination, any possible mitigation measures, those all still need to occur.
Thank you. We'll start with Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, I don't mean to be disrespectful to Supervisor Crandall. I know that this project is being looked at in his area. I just want to say that I met with Damien Gerard, one of the first meetings that we had to hear about the potential project. It feels like things have changed that I was not aware of. But today is slightly awkward for me in the sense that I feel like staff has the ability to process projects based on the rules and regulations that we have, asking us for time. I mean, we have community development spending 3 to 4 years sometimes on projects before it finally comes to Planning Commission here, and there's never a request for time. To me, there's a way to invoice and to work with the developers to do these things. There's a process. This feels, I don't know, there's a lack of understanding, because I know what I heard when I met with the original group, and I mentioned to Mr. Gerard, I'm not here to support or not support, go through the process and figure it out, especially it's not in my district. But I feel like there's just a lot of lacking information to say anything, but at the same time, I don't feel it's in our purview to say anything, because staff is here to work with developers that come here. Some developments work out and go through the process, go to Planning Commission and go through that process, and some developments don't work out and just don't go through the process. I don't know why we have to approve of time, and I feel like I don't want to set a precedent where we're going to approve time for any other project that is large scale that comes to us. We've had discussions about energy. We said we want to look for those types of things and created a committee. I guess I feel like I shouldn't say yes or no to something that is already in the regulations for you to be able to do, and also don't want to share a yes or a no in supporting or not supporting a project. I just want that project to go through the process that we already have available. So I know I had a conversation with Mr. Guintavano about this, and I don't know if he wants to help us in making sure that we are narrow in what we do today, but I feel like I'm a little bit struggling with this item. And I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Guintavano, do you have any comments on that?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think, in light of staff's presentation this morning, it may be narrow enough such to construe their request to work under the auspices of Rule 2, Section 5 of Chapter 1 of the county's policies and procedures. And that's in reference to the 8 or more cumulative staff hours requirement, and it states that individual board member referrals to staff that are anticipated to involve, and one of the criteria there, items there is significant county staff time, generally 8 or more cumulative hours. Then goes on to state other items, but following that, require Board of Supervisors approval prior to starting work. So the discussion here may be, or the issue may be narrow enough such that staff is requesting your board cumulative, for hours that would exceed a cumulative amount of 8 hours, because staff is anticipating more, the hours to exceed the amount for exploring this proposed arrangement. However, of course, the discretion is up to your board. If your board feels that at this point it's not going to exceed 8 hours, your board has the discretion to have staff come back when it's getting close to 8 hours. I'm not sure how many hours have spent. That needs to be laid out by staff at this point to date for this proposed project arrangement.
To answer the number of hours, Special Districts has exceeded that 8 hours by reviewing their requests and meeting with them several times. That does not count how many hours Ben has worked on it. So that's why we're here asking if this is a project that you guys want us to continue working on. There is no sewer application. This is kind of a new thing for Special Districts. And they also haven't submitted a planning request either. So it's preliminary, totally preliminary. Is this a major project you guys want us to undertake?
Okay, Director Turner, do you have a comment related to what we're discussing right now?
Yes, thank you. I could just add to that that community development has spent at least 3 hours on this project so far, both meeting with the developer twice and also other staff working with the CEC to sort of fine tune and figure out where their jurisdiction stops and what permitting things are still under the authority of the county. And that is all prior to receiving any permit revenue. So this is just one of those development potential that ideas that cost community development time that's not generating revenue.
They haven't done anything, sorry. They haven't done anything with community development as of yet? You're saying you spent some?
They have not submitted any permit applications or paid any permit fees. So this has all been preceding or preparatory time spent by the department, both my time meeting with the developer and the team a couple different times, as well as one of our senior planners meeting with the CEC to start talking about how that'll all fall out for a project of this magnitude.
Okay, so they're not at the stage where they would pay community development for anything yet? Okay. Because I'm just wondering, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll go to Supervisor Owen first, I believe.
Sure. Thank you. The issues, disclaimer, I too attended the meeting, their first meeting on this project, and it's a really exciting project. The new technology is really cool, and so it's something that is pretty interesting, and I am all about energy. However, in saying that, I know that it has changed. The county property was not involved at that time when the original meeting was held. We also since then have formed an ad hoc committee earlier this year to deal with our energy needs here. And I think that we don't have a policy in place at this moment. I know personally, and I'm sure I can speak for most of the board or all of the board, our first and foremost needs is what can we do to benefit our residents here in Lake County with the price of energy. So when we put something together, that's first and foremost on my chart, my agenda, is how we can, what can we do to support our people here as well as providing energy so that our rates hopefully can drop and reduce our electrical bills. So at this time, I think it's a little bit premature, although I know that energy is needed. I just would like to see us put something together first before we move forward and examine it as a whole. Because if we make commitments, one of the items that we had spoke of in that first meeting was where they would need a certain amount of water. And a lot of our water is already committed to the geothermal geysers and where that would come from. And so to make those, we were talking about the full circle and what was not yet committed. The water's committed from the full circle that's not yet online, and to be able to support the project. But yet there may be something else down the road, and we need to know what we can do to better protect and benefit our residents here in Lake County.
Thank you. And Supervisor Price again.
So, I wasn't at the meeting, so this is the first time that I'm part of this discussion, so I'm just trying to play a little bit of catch up. I'm looking at the website for XGS, and it says that you've secured land in the county and have a really beautiful picture of our lake. It sounds like the intention was to do this development at the Pluth Ranch, and I'm just wondering, and is it okay if the developer comes up and I can ask him a couple of questions?
Yeah, would you please come up, sir,
To that microphone?
to the microphone?
So I'm just wondering how we got from your intended location to moving over to special districts, and I think that that might kind of be where this time
Yes.
request is looking.
Very good, and good to meet you all. My name is Damien Gerard. I work at EGX Energy. I think that the genesis and the history of this is a year ago around, Mr. Lamperty came to us to ask whether we could be developing a geothermal project in his property. And we looked at a lot of subsurface data that exist in the region, because many wells have already been drilled there back in the 80s and 90s. And we thought that with new technologies that we are working on, we could be developing a geothermal project. We, in good neighbor, decided to go talk to the city of Clear Lake, and some other supervisors were there as well, and some of the staff member. And we explained to them a bit the logistics of the project. And in that meeting, it was suggested that we also consider potentially using the county land surrounding the wastewater treatment for the ground equipment to build the power plant and to build the well pads. We had not considered that option. We had considered actually building that on private land, on Mr. Lamperty's land. So when that proposal came to us, we assessed this as one additional option. And as Mr. Rickelman said, there are a few advantages of using that property there. And by the way, there are around 400 acres at the wastewater treatment. We will be using a very small fraction of that, around 30 acres. And there are advantages in that it's easy access, it's relatively flat land, it's still at some distance from residents. We are considering this as one additional option. It doesn't mean that it's the final option, but what we would like to do is at least put a plan together, and this is why we're here today, to come up with a win-win solution for the project as well as for the county. You know, we've heard about the sewage issue. We need a lot of water. We could be using excess water rain and etc. So I think there is potentially here a solution that could benefit the project, but also, and importantly, the local community and the county. And that's why we're here today. That's the genesis.
Oh, I really appreciate that explanation. Thanks. What is the size of the project that you're considering?
We are, right now, our plan is for above 50 megawatt, probably around 100 megawatt. That will be considered a quite large geothermal plant.
50 megawatts?
50 to 100 megawatt.
And for context?
So for context, the county of Lake consumed 42 megawatt.
Yeah, but I'm just, for context, for my board member colleagues, the large plants and the geysers are 50 megawatts. And so, you know, one or two might be a little larger in the 60 to 70 range.
Right.
That's a 100 megawatt project is something larger than we have.
Yes.
And in the geysers total, it's 750 megawatts.
Yes.
So this is a really, really significant sized project. And this is using EGS technology, correct?
It's using enhanced geothermal system, yes.
Right, which I know that there is a potential project in Pocket Ranch in Sonoma County on sort of the other side on the fringe of the geysers. But there's not any of that technology currently in California, right?
Not in California, but well in the US.
Yeah. I do understand why the request was made to put at, you know, special districts. I have a lot of concerns about the size of this project and the seismicity. I deal with seismicity every day because I live right near the geysers. And being so close to infrastructure, being so close to residents and homes, and also the Superfund site, which is the Sulphur Bank mine. So, you know, I would really just encourage you to develop at the Pluth Ranch and look for alternate locations. I think it's close enough to the city, but not as close with being right at the site of the treatment plant. We do need more energy. We do need to have more projects. I have concerns about this, but obviously this is very initial. We don't have a lot to review yet. So from my perspective, I think we should just encourage them to do this on private land.
Okay.
But that's just me. I don't speak for the whole board.
Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Crandall, I believe, is next.
Yeah. So, yes, Tony Lamperti invited me to talk with the group. And in discussing it, one of the main things that I always do when I meet with people that want to develop is I tell them what they need to do. And that is usually town halls, because that's where you're going to get your feedback, and you have to get, they have to know. As we know with a couple of others in my district, there's other projects that even though they've said they're doing it or filed things, the fact that they didn't go to the town hall made it even worse. And so I told them, here's the steps you need to take. And that's what I do whenever I meet with someone that wants to develop. Here's the steps. Right now, get a hold of the town halls, get on their agenda. Also, start talking to the tribes. And I know that they came to the TIPO meeting, but that's not the tribes. So that's one of the other things I said. You need to talk to them because there's cultural resources that are going to be a part of CEQA and whatnot. So, so I'm not sure how that's going, but bottom line is the work you have to do to get your project through is what it is. And so, I think with this, I mean, I don't really see the need to go outside of the scope it's already at. I think everyone else that deals with projects has to kind of go through the same thing, and they're not given the opportunity to have staff time, especially with the other, agencies trying to do things, especially, whether it be in my district or others. So, I mean, I think they can still move forward and let us know when it's getting close to the time they need extra time. We can discuss it then. But in the meantime, I encourage the group to continue to work with the local community, even have their own specific town halls to talk about it or events. And if it's auspicious for the community or they feel like it is, then they'll let you know, and then we can go from there, because that's going to be the hard part for me. Is not only the community that lives in the area that's going to be affected by it, but it's also the tribal aspect because of the cultural resources and whatnot, and whatever else is going to affect the land, that is in the area. But that's the insight I have, and that's where I'm at right now.
I lost track of which one was.
Go ahead.
Go ahead with Supervisor Owen.
No, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Supervisor Sabatier.
I'll go after.
So, I apologize. I'm going to offer a contradiction, Mr. Gerard. I know that the intention originally that was brought to us, and Supervisor Owen, please correct me if I'm wrong, the option and opportunity for the Southeast Treatment Plant property was where the power would be collected because we were looking at either the vineyard up above or because what you generate from the power plant, which was originally at Tony Lamperti's property, would need to go somewhere where it holds all the electricity and then sends it off to the transmission wires, and that's where we were looking at the southeast. I was not aware, that's why I was saying it feels like things have changed, where the power plant now is being looked at in that general area. That was not my comments, and again, I'm not for it, I'm not against it. To me, it's part of an evolving process of any project, and I feel like this conversation potentially would make me weary of coming to Lake County to do development when we're talking about the specifics of something that we have no idea about because there's nothing specific to talk about. And if there is not the capability to continue these discussions, because some projects are going to be very complicated, some are going to fit within the boxes that we've already created, we need to create that possibility. I know that you have already invoiced for some of the work that has occurred with your staff or them coming on your property and utilizing some of that time. To me, that's the concept of, yes, you may not have submitted anything, but if there's work being done and you want to develop, you're going to have to spend some time with people, send an invoice, but coming to us so we can dissect a project and say, I'm worried about seismicity. You and I talked about that, but I have no proof of anything or understanding of the technology. I'm just talking from straight ignorance and bringing things up that, in my opinion, are going to scare every developer from wanting to come to us if we have to go to this board for major projects every single time. So my opinion is invoice, keep going until you have something of substance. Right now we're talking about something that we're getting some very visceral reactions from the community because they don't know what it is, we don't know what it is, and there's nothing on paper to show exactly what it is until it's done and ready to go. And I don't think this is the right process. I think the process is you continue to work until there's something to show and until there's a need from us, but asking for hours for a developer, we got to figure out a way to not ever come back to us and ask for hours for a developer. We have to figure out a way to make it as efficient as possible because whether the project is good or not, we need to figure out how to move these projects through and not stall it to come back and ask us so then we can do this. This feels not right.
Supervisor Owen?
I don't want you to be discouraged about the county property either. As we go through our process with the ad hoc, I'm hoping to see what benefits we can have with partners, and I don't want to scare off future developers here for energy. I think that's one of our great assets, but I also think that our people need to benefit from that, and I believe I had mentioned that to you. So looking to the future is what we're going to need to do, and when we're going to need energy. So I definitely don't want to do that. I'm just saying that we need to have some kind of policy and see what we're looking for first. I know what I'm looking for, but I got stopped in the direction I was going last year by the ad hoc. So it kind of made me have to rethink things just a little bit. And the seismicity that they are worried about, I think in the videos that you gave us at that first meeting made me feel better about it because you were talking about the grounds and how they differed from the geothermal at the geysers, the current geysers. So I bet everybody else here hasn't seen that. So where you answered many questions in that, was it an hour and a half or so meeting, they're not getting the opportunity to see all that right now. So don't be discouraged.
Did you have further?
I do, yeah,
Yes, go
thanks.
ahead.
Yeah, and I don't want you to be discouraged either. This is just the first time I'm hearing about it. These are my initial thoughts, and I am really looking forward to working with Supervisor Owen about figuring out how we are really proactive with making our plan so that we're ready when developers come, and we have a little bit of work to do in-house to get ready.
Yeah, so also, I didn't know anything about this until it showed up on the agenda. I wasn't involved in any discussions, but it initially seemed to me like this would be something that, since we created that energy ad hoc committee, that they may be talking about it. And it also seems to me that, you know, staff is looking at our rules and policy, and since there were supervisors involved, we have this rule about the 8 hours of work. So seems like that's, you know, that's why it came in front of us. Right now, I have concerns about directing a department, particularly special districts, or doing a vote to say that they should work on this when there's other priorities going on. So I feel a little uncomfortable about that, but at the same time, if it's something that they're working on and invoicing and billing for, then that would be a different situation. It's not really, I guess they would be doing that when they had time and sending out a bill. So those are my thoughts right now about the whole situation. Go ahead, Supervisor Cranton.
Yes, and I'll have to say, initially, when I think Supervisor Sabatier called me about it and we were going to meet, I had to go to something. So I didn't see them till after, like a couple of months after, and they had a lot more, and they even were able to explain that they were looking at the area for special districts, because before they didn't, right, or something like that. But again, Brown Act precludes us to talk about it. We didn't talk about it. But yeah, so during that time frame, again, I like what you said about invoicing. That gives them the opportunity to do that. That's a good idea. The other thing is, again, like I think Helen had said, that we had the opportunity to ask the questions and go through that dialogue. When the public doesn't have that, it's hard for us to make a good decision when the public doesn't know and they feel like things get pushed through. Again, I had to deal with one of these last year, and it's because it came later and they didn't get to answer their questions. And like I said in that meeting, you have to be consistent, because in that situation there was a lot of conflicting information and whatnot, and it became a real, a big, I guess, perplexed issue. So just giving the insight again that giving the opportunity for the community to have their questions answered and whatnot is going to really play a big role and help you navigate further.
Okay, anything further from supervisors? Go ahead, sir, come on up.
First of all, I really appreciate the feedback. This is exactly why we're here, and we're just starting this process, so we need to take that into account. What I would like to propose also is that we take some time with each of you individually and take the time with our experts addressing seismic, addressing water, addressing the power aspect, and manage to have sufficient time with no stress to answer some of your concerns. And Supervisor Crandall, we are just starting on this process. As you've seen, 2 weeks ago, we were in the meeting with the tribes. I know this is just the first step, just to introduce the project, but we want to continue that with the local community and the rest of the tribe. So we'll continue doing this over 2026, but I'll just pose it to you to have some time with each of you individually to address your concerns.
Well, and just real quick, the TIPO meeting was the tribal representatives, so the Tribal Historic Preservation Officers. It wasn't the leadership, and that's where was letting you know, like, you need to meet with the actual leaders.
We started there because we were invited by
Okay.
long story.
Well, yeah, no, it was good. I just wanted to remind you that, yeah.
Make one comment. The Brown Act precludes us from being able to talk to each other, so now we all know about it. So that's, I think, a huge plus. So thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready to open to the public. And come forward, sir, state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Tom Lasik, good morning, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. Specific to what I understand the request being from administration or special districts, I would recommend that the request for 8 hours be denied. I think it's in the best interest of the developer and the staff and the community to go through, and I'm going to paraphrase something that was said a few weeks ago when the ad hoc committee was first formed. We need to set our table. We need to get our policies. We need to get our legal framework, our ordinances, and all those things defined to the way we want them to be. It would be unfair to a developer to plan according to a scenario that we haven't even developed yet, only to be surprised at the last minute that it doesn't quite fit. When if the development knew what our direction was and what our vision was, they would be able to save a lot of time, money, and energy aligning with our vision. So specific to the request, as I understand it being presented to the board, I would request that I would recommend that it be denied for the time being, until such time that the ad hoc committee has done its work and set the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? If you could state your name again for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Sterling. I did type up something because I did do a PRA and I got the report that they had put together for what they want to do. I don't know if I'm right, and I might be wrong, but Palouse Property is one of many unique properties in Lake County. They never sold their mineral rights under the ground. So I believe why they kind of pushed it to county is because they're going to put the wells on the county land, and then they're going to go horizontal and frack in to the Palouse property to get the minerals. We're going to be stretching all the way almost to the Elam colony. I believe what I read, I could be wrong. They are going to be going under the ground into the geothermal setback. So I believe maybe requesting that information in the report that they put together that they are trying to do with this project is very serious. The Pruth property is completely surrounded by two major fault lines. One of them that does go all the way through Clear Lake Oaks into Spring Valley where I live. And with the fracking and all that and the seismic activity, 100 milliwatts is what they're current. We've never had that here. We're going next to a sewer plant that can't maintain mains. There's the fault lines that can go all the way through, out through Spring Valley, all the way to Walker Ridge. We're trying to put it right next to a community, right next to a major infrastructure of a sewage, a major corridor coming in and out of Clear Lake, Highway 53. So this is a really serious thing that we need to actually look into. We do have the Elam colony people that live there. I did bring this to the attention when Sonoma Clean Power was coming. We're still dealing with the Superfund there from outside agencies coming in and taking the mercury, and we're still dealing with it today. Our lake is one of the most contaminated lakes in California with mercury, and we're allowing another outside agency come in. And literally, through the Public Records Act, this started in October 12th, right after we said no to Sonoma Clean Power. And I believe what I read was correct. After it is get put together and it's all running right, they're able to sell it to whoever they want. Sonoma Clean Power, after we just told them no, can come in through the back door and buy that and now make millions off of us, if not billions off of us. We need to make sure when we do a geothermal, and if we are going to do this, we need to know what is the contracts of where we're going to sell it, how we are going to benefit as a community. We are the second poorest county in California. This can make us better. This can help our community. We won't have people living on the streets. We wouldn't have all these people needing, Section 8, welfare, whatever. We can provide this and we can make our community better if we do our due diligence on doing the study. We can do geothermal. I'm not against it, but I am about the safety of our community and what we can present for us and make us better as a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? If you could state your name for the record.
Hi, Diana Mann. I'm the general manager of the Clear Lake Oaks County Water District. I know how you feel about just learning about this today because I just learned about this on Friday. This is a big, huge project that is in my backyard. I'm surprised Supervisor Crandall didn't come talk to me about this. We have a 3.5-mile pipeline that goes from our plant to their plant. Don't think that's going to be jeopardized? I don't know. I'm a little livid about this from just being hit on the side of the head without even being brought to the board, brought to the table, asked about how this would affect my service area. Everything that this project brings to the table affects my service area. I have 65-year-old infrastructure in the ground. I worked at the geysers. Those earthquakes happen, sometimes multiple times in a day. 3.5, the water, I believe Supervisor Owen talked about. They talk about acre foot. 130 acre foot is 42,360,000 gallons of water. What's going to happen in a drought? Where's that water coming from? Supervisor Owen also said we serve our water already up to the geysers. We can't do this project and still preserve our water. Conservative, when it's a drought, we ask people to cut back on their water. So there's not as much even waste that we have on a regular inflow year. So this was very concerning to me. It was brought to me by one of my ratepayers that this has all been happening in our backyard and nobody's even thought to talk to us about it. So I would appreciate in the future being brought to the table so we can all discuss this project because it does affect a lot of people. Not against energy. I'm against how this is being proposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I address something? Well,
Yes.
So,
I'm sorry.
thank you for the lambasting of that, but I don't need to reiterate that this is not happening yet. This is just asking for staff time. When I talked with the group, I let them know to talk to not only the communities, but also the agencies in place. So there was no intention to try and exclude you or anything like that. So I don't really appreciate you saying I should have just came right to you. I told the people that are doing it to come to you. Now, if it was happening sooner, then I would have ran right over or something like that. This is not even in place yet. So I appreciate you being worried. I don't discredit what your issue is, but please, I don't really feel like I need to be lambasted about something that when I tell the people they're doing something, when I tell somebody that they need to do their due diligence, they should come to you. So from now on, as duly noted, I will come to you to let you know what's going on, whether it be a fly lands on something or whatever, but I don't want to be lambasted because I didn't immediately call you when I told the people to do so.
Can I respond?
No. Thank you, Supervisor Crandall.
We can talk after.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do we have anybody further in the room?
Good morning, Chair Rasmussen and Supervisors, Margot Kambara. Cleaner energy and lower energy costs are good things. Special districts request resembles the cart before the horse. Today, we're looking at two issues. First is a process to cover staff hours to develop projects. Supervisor Sabatier suggests a reasonable approach for development projects in general. For this project, a second issue involves timing, energy policy development, and developing energy projects. Lake County's energy prices are among the highest in the country. The county needs an energy policy to make smart decisions about the county's energy future. If energy project proposals are approved by the county before the county develops a comprehensive energy policy, then the county could commit taxpayers to decisions that do not meet residents, business owners, and agricultural stakeholders' needs. Last October, your board declined Sonoma Clean Power's offer to develop Lake County's geothermal resources and join SCP's energy service area. Your board instructed administration to research other energy solutions, including services from other community choice aggregators other than SCP. That would yield better cost savings, terms, and results for Lake County. Special districts' request to develop a geothermal project can become the cart before the horse. So let's talk about the horse. A few weeks ago, your board appointed an ad hoc committee on energy policy development to help guide the county's energy future. Again, the horse. Administration suggested topics that the ad hoc committee could address. This sensible approach is contradicted by a special district's request for your board's approval to work with an energy company on a geothermal energy proposal. Special districts and the energy company can be working on terms, conditions, and decisions affecting Lake County's energy future before your board's ad hoc energy policy development committee has completed its recommendations. It seems there's a desperate rush to do something, anything, about our energy problem. That is a mistake. For this project, special districts will be on point. Special districts is in the middle of the Robin Lane sewage spill. There are many questions about maintenance and operations by special districts contributing to the sewage disaster. This department will oversee the development and probably oversight of the geothermal project. Has this department's performance before and during the Robin Lane sewage spill inspired confidence? This and other energy projects may be proposed for development before the county's energy policy is developed. Better governance calls for your energy policy development committee's recommendations to become a guide for proposed energy projects in
We'll
the
have to
county.
wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else in the room? Seeing none, we'll move to online. Johanna? Cassandra, we unmute you. If you could state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, again, my name is Cassandra Holbert. I live on Robin Lane. I'm deeply concerned about the board considering authorization to develop geothermal facility proposal before the sewage spill investigation, remediation, and accountability process has been complete. This proposal involves county-owned land, infrastructure overseen by special districts, and the site's near enough neighborhoods that are currently under do not use water advisories. According to, the staff memo and, this discussion, there's still preliminary discussions. So while we're having these preliminary discussions, we need to raise serious questions. How can the county be responsible to pursue this new industrial development when existing wastewater infrastructure has recently failed catastrophically? What independent environmental review is going to occur before any agreement or lease is decided or contemplated? How is groundwater protection going to be ensured when we're actively dealing with the lateral groundwater movement from sewage contamination? How can the public trust that the infrastructure improvements that are offered as a part of this development agreement won't be used to offset and distract from the existing failures that are happening right now? At minimum, I urge the board to pause any authorization until the spill response is fully resolved, an independent post-incident review is completed, and impacted residents are meaningfully consulted. I'm not against energy, I'm not against this project, but this is a matter of public health, transparency, and trust. Thank you.
Thank you. And Johanna? Rachel, we'll unmute you. If you could state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Rachel White, and I don't have a lot to add. There's obviously well-informed people in the audience, and I appreciate their input. My biggest concern is that this even ended up on the agenda, and public trust of the board is really low right now. It's just a bad look in general that you guys would defer any of special district's time to a new project. You have a chief administrative officer who is responsible for getting things on the agenda and getting support material on the agenda. It shouldn't take a public records request for anybody to know what's going on. It's just, this whole thing is just a bad look, and people are going to continue getting angry unless you guys basically get it together.
Thank you. Anyone further? No other hands. I'm going to close public comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussions, questions of staff, and we'll start with Supervisor Sabatier.
Just a couple of things. As far as I'm concerned, point is Mr. Rickelman. He is hired to do economic development. He is hired to talk with developers, and there will be some ancillary discussions with other departments. The county, I'm going to steal your line. I know it's not your line, but I heard you say it, and I want to use it more and more often. We have to be able to walk and chew gum. We cannot just focus on one thing at a time. There is a lot of things we need to do at the same time for Lake County to change. And so I don't see that as being an issue. I see this item as just being kind of a strange item and a strange request. If we've already been invoicing, keep invoicing until it doesn't meet the requirements of our zoning. We have those things already done. We are having conversations about things that we can't answer about, and that's what the process of development provides before it goes to any kind of approval process. And so I think that we're getting into the weeds of something that may not even be what it is when it's finalized and brought to an actual planning department for, here's the project that we're going to do. And I don't think we should ever stop any discussion with any developer that wants to come to Lake County until we know it's not going to work, or the community doesn't want it, or anything. But right now, we're having a conversation with absolutely zero information, and I say no action from the board, invoice, continue to work. The job of, in my opinion, is to work with developers until the developer walks away or until it doesn't meet the regulations that we have already set in place. Yes, we do have an ad hoc committee. I think we need to continue with that ad hoc committee, but we also shouldn't postpone anything from happening in Lake County because we haven't been prepared, and now we're just going to be another 5 years, 3 years, 10 years behind the ball. We have to not put up barriers that don't actually exist. We need to follow the processes that we have. And again, we can walk and chew gum, and we need to start showing that we can.
Thank you. Supervisor Owen?
Go ahead and respond, I guess.
Yes.
I want to clarify the comments that we're charging. We strictly have a right of entry agreement that allowed them to come on site and to pay for staff time for that. Special Districts has no way to bill developers for time unless it's a sewer application. And we're in the process of working on our rate study, but we're not community development. We don't have those same kind of permit fees and those kind of things. So there's a misconception that we can just start charging people things when we don't have that. So
what we could do though is we could get a consultant which EGX could pay for to put that proposal together. So that's
I don't know what the invoice conversation was about then, because prior there had been mention of invoice. Does somebody want to clarify that? Invoicing?
It was the right of entry.
And there was an invoice for that?
I don't know if staff has actually sent it out, but there would be a small charge for them to be able to go to the plant and be escorted around and that kind of stuff. But
yeah, there was an agreement with the right of entry, per hour rate that EGX would be charged for.
Okay. I feel this is just a little premature. I don't feel that we are approving a project, as some of the comments have mentioned. That's certainly not it. We're not declining a project. And I do think this was a little premature, but I feel it's worth our time so that it's out there and everybody does know. Because all you're doing right now is researching. You're not bringing anything forward for approval. So, and as far as the 50 to 100 megawatts, I'm pretty excited. I mean, that could supply the whole county. So we have to have more information. Obviously, what we seen presented, it looked like the seismic activity was not going to be the issue. But again, because it's much shallower, and there was a number of reasons. So, but we do have to look into it. I don't know enough about it to give it a yes or a no right now. Certainly, but as far as researching it, I think we need to. In my opinion, I think we wouldn't be doing our due diligence or our responsibility to our customers to not investigate. So.
Director Turner, were you wanting to say something? It looked like it's...
I was torn between adding to the thing and prolonging the item. We do have staff research time available, and we can bill for that. That's fine. The time that I think is covered here is mostly my time, where we request board authorization for more than those 8 hours. That would involve me, which is actually normal part of our business. We always stand ready to support economic development in any way that we can. So when Ben invites me to a meeting, I know it's important. And that's why I'm here today to support the request.
And you put 3 hours in January?
I've put 2.
2 hours
in
in January?
With 1 staff hour, which is normally our limit for unpaid time. for staff. And so if I did need additional assistance time from the staff, then we would bill for that.
But it's basically 8 hours a month is what you're allowed.
I think it's 8 hours total for all departments. And so that's why we've hit that so quickly,
I
because
see.
this is a large, complicated project. It in no way entitles the project at all. It's just making sure that it's as good an application when it finally does come to us.
But you're charging for those hours.
I had not, no. I
Okay,
don't usually charge for my time.
Okay.
And staff will usually work up to an hour and then start charging for time. So we've hit that, and we'll charge for staff time as necessary, but that would not include mine. That's
Which
why mine-
means when you're charging, you don't need to come back to us.
Correct. Yeah, that does not require board approval.
Sure.
It's just my time.
Supervisor Sabatier?
Can I ask, Mr. Guintavano, you mentioned the rule and regulation for the 8 hours. Can you give me that again so I can look it up?
So it's in
It seems subjective of how it's used, which is part of my frustration with this whole conversation.
So it's in Chapter 1 of the Policies and Procedures of the County of Lake, Section 5, Rule 2, under the heading of Board Member Referrals to Staff, under the page number.
I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you. If somebody, a developer, contacts me and I send them to Mr. Rickelman, who's the economic development, suddenly it's a special request from a board of, I didn't say this is a project I need to have, this is a project I'm working on. I got contacted, I referred. At what point is this, I'm not working with Mr. Rickelman to make this happen. And I've expressed to Mr. Gerard, I'm not in support or in support. This is a project that I want to push to our economic developer to work on. I'm getting frustrated with the discussion. I apologize for feeling this way, but I'm feeling that we are obstructing in ways that feels really, really, really wrong. And if we want economic development, I don't understand the barriers. And so to say that this is, if I'm working on a special ordinance that I want to do, and I'm working with Mr. Rickelman on an economic development ordinance to bring back to the Board of Supervisors, and it takes more than 8 hours, completely understand. Even though that's subjective too, because usually if a department head or a staff member agrees with us, they'll probably work a little bit more than 8 hours rather than waiting to get approval. But this is his job to work with developers. I refer the developer to him. Are we going to have, every developer that we meet, we're going to have to come back and get approval? This seems the wrong way, and I would prefer that we just, there seems to be a process where you can invoice, please use the process, and let's be done with it. And then there's a process for any and all projects. This is not a special request. This is not a special treatment for anyone. This is a referral to a staff member to deal with something. That's it. And that's their job.
Supervisor Pyska?
So you talked about having a consultant work with a developer, and that would cover all of the staff hours. Because at this point, I do think it's important that the developer pay for the hours that are being used by staff. And you seem just fine with that. And if we don't have that process already in place, then that's something we can work on with the energy policy. But it sounds like you can make that happen, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so are we ready for suggested action or consensus?
Do you need action from us to make that happen? Because I don't think you do.
I don't.
I think it's the direction.
Okay. All right, so I think we're good then. We'll go ahead and conclude the item if there's nothing further.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to call a break.
My favorite word. Mr.
I'm going
Knapp.
to call the meeting back to order, and we're going to move on to our 6.6, which was our 10 a.m. item for consideration of census tracts to advocate for opportunity zones selection, and I'll turn that over to Mr. Rickelman.
Good morning, Board. Ben Rickelman, Deputy County Administrative Officer. So with the passage of the reconciliation bill last year, opportunity zones were made permanent in the federal tax code. And I was going to give a presentation, an overview of the program itself, and then the eligible census tracts that the governor could nominate to be designated opportunity zones here in Lake County. So the program was originally created back in the first Trump administration with the tax cuts, job creation, the first reconciliation bill. Those opportunity zones were designated and have been active since 2017. Here in Lake County, it's 3 in the Clear Lake area. And I think the very high level concept to keep in mind with opportunity zones, it's basically with federal capital gain tax primarily incentivizing private development, overwhelmingly in commercial real estate. So the designations will now happen every 10 years that they're permanent, and it'll go, the governor's office has the power to nominate up to 25% of eligible census tracts in their state, and then it goes to Treasury. So for the time frame for this round is the governor has to make a decision by, or transmit the decision by July 1st of this year, and then they would come into effect at the beginning of 2027. So what are opportunity zones? The top benefit is if there's kind of a middle fund, a qualified opportunity fund, and for an investment that's made, and if the investment's held for at least 10 years, any appreciation on that, the capital gain, that there is no, once that asset is sold, there is no federal capital gains tax on that. So that's pretty attractive. There's a few other benefits. There is, when the capital gains are put into the fund for investment into opportunity zones, instead of that exit triggering a tax, you can defer it for 5 years. And then there's also a step up in basis with the funds put into the opportunity zone fund, where if it's held for 5 years in a rural opportunity zone fund investment, that there's a 30% step up in basis. So that basically means, like, let's say someone makes $1 million in the stock market. So that's that $1 million capital gains. They put it in the rural opportunity zone fund. It's held for 5 years. So only 70% of that $1 million is subject to the federal capital gains tax. And then let's say that $1 million is invested in a rural project and it appreciates in to, let's say, 2.5 million. So you have a gain on that of 1.5 million, and they've held it for 10 years. There's no federal capital gains on that once they exit for that appreciation. Started with $1 million, that 300,000 is exempted, and then if they held it for 10, that 1.5 appreciation is also exempted if it's held for 10. So there's no grant funding involved with this. There's no tax credits. It's all private investment. Kind of the workhorse of opportunity zone investments what we've seen has been primarily multifamily, some large retail and industrial. So I thought this was just illustrative. So the Economic Innovation Group is a think tank. They were one of the primary movers to get this program set up, and they've sponsored this research. And because opportunity zones are income qualified, they were 80% or below of median family income were qualified census tracts, and now for this round they tighten up a little bit, and it's 70% or below. So as you can see before implementation, these census tracts had less growth in housing, less investment in multifamily and single family, and now we've seen that flip. And then this is showing, so all these census tracts are income qualified, but the yellow is opportunities, are the census tracts that were chosen as opportunity zones, and then the green were eligible census tracts but were not chosen. And that just shows over time the level of investment. So these are the current opportunity zones, and there will be a 1-year overlap between the current ones and when the new ones come into effect. And this is the part I will be looking for board and community input. So there are 9 census tracts in total that are eligible for selection. And as mentioned before, how the program's set up is 25% of eligible census tracts can be nominated. So I think it's reasonable to expect this, the governor's office to select maybe 3 or 4 in Lake County. So I'm just gonna refer to the last digits in these listings because they all have the same at the front end. These are the census tract numbers. So the first one is primarily Lakeport 402. And I was just gonna mention some development ideas again because this is predicated on private capital coming in. It's not grant funding. So in Lakeport, we do have the multi-phase Vista Point redevelopment occurring. And then I think another possible project that could be of interest to people looking at opportunity zone investing is the Dutch Harbor site just north of Hobbiton Park that the city of Lakeport has marketed for hotel development. The second one is little south of Lakeport, Findlay, and Kelseyville. And that also includes Lamson Field. We'll say for this one, the community, there has been some preference shown for the small area plans. There's some industrial zoning north of Kelseyville that could be attractive for development. These are the next two, 501 and 602. One change with the program that could be of interest of here is before they had a 100% substantial improvement requirement. And so that meant the value of the property had to double. And so, you know, they have that in place to make sure real investment's happening. But for rural areas now, they have a 50% threshold. So with 100%, that basically pushes you, for the most part, into greenfield development. So building new structures, new development. Whereas at 50%, a substantial renovation could qualify. So the Lucerne Castle could be a project because that's going to take a lot of work to make it code compliant and whatever that's envisioned. It's a pretty large property. So that's a possibility. And then we have 602 here. We have the Oaks and the Keys, 601 and 704. And then these are two of the Clear Lake census tracts, 802, 801. We have seen a decent amount of development in the Clear Lake area, both in multifamily and medium scale and large scale retail, and it's seen a good amount of growth recently. So I think this could also be attractive. And there's one other Clear Lake census tract, 702. So open to all suggestions. If possible, I think it would be good to coordinate with the cities and have a combined letter, but it's not required at all. There's, we don't have any legal power over this process. But if there could be a combined letter to the governor's office, that would be great.
Supervisor Pyska?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I wasn't sure if the cities would be sending in separate letters or if we would make recommendations for the cities to include them. How would that work?
So I just spoke briefly with the Lakeport city manager, and he would be open if there's kind of agreement or consensus built to discuss it with the Lakeport City Council and then get a joint letter together.
It would probably be stronger if we had
Yeah.
a joint letter. And then, which opportunity zones currently exist?
Sure, I can go back to that slide. It's 3 opportunity zones, that dark green area there, basically in Clear Lake.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thanks.
Anything further from supervisors, questions at this point? Not seeing any, I will go ahead and open it up, or Supervisor Sabatier.
Just for a clarification, you anticipate that once the governor's office makes a final decision that it'll be 3 to 4 census tracts here, but we're looking at offering 9 at this moment in time, is what I understood?
So there's 9 eligible census tracts. So those are the census tracts that could be nominated. But the law is 25% of the eligible census tracts can be picked. So those are all the ones that qualify with the income qualifications. But because of that 25%, that's where I'm getting to that 3 to 4 number.
And just to kind of ask, the main purpose behind opportunity zones is to increase the opportunities within those areas because of the fact that there's a lack of opportunities already in existence.
Yeah, you're basically making it more financially attractive to develop there because you have less of a tax burden in there that therefore pushes private investment development to lower income areas.
With the impact being increased property values, increased economic opportunities for household income to go up, so on and so forth.
Correct.
Okay. And I know that you said you spoke with the Lakeport city manager. I know that we have the Clear Lake city manager here, so hopefully we'll hear from him during public comment. How would you like us to make a decision based on the 9? I would prefer, I'd love to say let's send all 9, but I also don't want the governor to choose for us, because then at that point we get what we get. What's your suggestion on what we finish with today? That we dwindle it down to 4, or that we say yes to what you're showing us as the 9 of eligible census tracts?
I would prefer dwindling down to 4 so we don't have the dynamic you just said of giving the governor a list of 9 and then they have to make the decision. So it does offer a substantial benefit. That being said, the development still has to pencil and there still has to be development activity. So I think anywhere where we think there's going to be likely development activity, there's kind of a realistic path forward. I think that's where we should concentrate.
Okay.
Anything further?
I'll wait till after.
We'll go ahead and open it up to the public. Do we have any members in the room who wish to comment? See City Manager Flora.
Good morning, Chair, board members. Wasn't planning on speaking on this, but Mr. Rickelman did reach out to me a couple of times to talk about this. Unfortunately, I haven't connected with him. As you know, I've been focused on a few other things the last few weeks. But We would be more than happy to coordinate with Lakeport and the county to have coordinated approach. I think it's probably more likely to have a little bit stronger voice than doing it all separately. We've had a lot of interest over the years that I've been with the city related to the Opportunity Zone. No one's actually taken advantage of it. My experience up to this point has been that there's the more sophisticated development folks are the ones that are aware and understand this and are willing to work through the complexities of the financial benefits of a project in the zone. It's very difficult for us to attract those large-scale developments in Lake County, just generally speaking. And so, you know, I think it's something that I'm glad that we're paying attention to it. Hopefully we continue to have some designations here locally, and we'd be willing to work with the county and the city to do so.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the room? Not seeing anyone. Do we have anyone online? No hands. I'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the board. Go ahead, Supervisor Sabatier. Or sorry, I didn't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick question. When does this due? I apologize if I missed that.
July.
There's no specific due date to submit comment, but the governor needs to transmit the list to the federal government July 1st.
So I just a suggestion, rather than us pulling out boxing gloves and figuring out who survives and what census tracts come out of this, I would suggest meeting with both cities, figuring out what the 5 census tracts that comes out of that meeting and bringing that back to us to see if that's something that we approve.
That sounds great.
Supervisor Crandall.
Yeah, and I think you showed some of the benefit, the community benefit in there. You showed like an overlay of like 2 or 3 different things that line that out. But I just want to make sure that while we do this, to specify some of the other, you know, community benefits. We want to make sure that this happens in my district a lot. People get the properties and it sits dormant, and they're from outside of the county, and then people like with restaurants try to come in, and then they're kind of bled out, and these buildings sit dormant, and so it's just what happens. And so I'm worried that, you know, a group comes in and does that, and then we don't get a community benefit. And then also if they are, you know, developing and then they bring an outside entity that doesn't provide any type of community benefit. So I just want to have some sort of guidelines there to make sure that there's something in place, that we're not just, you know, put in that spot. Does that make sense?
I get your concern. So we don't have any control over this program. It's a federal program. We can suggest and advocate for selection, but
that's all we're doing is
Yeah.
selecting. Okay, then I babbled for nothing. Sorry.
No problem.
Now I'll say that I think it's a good idea to meet with the cities and collaborate and give us a little more information in a couple weeks. Or I know we don't want to delay it too long. I know there's no deadline, but
Yeah, I think that communication can happen fairly quickly, and we can get in front of the board pretty quickly again to have a final list.
okay. Supervisor Peiske.
I just have one further question. When we give the recommended tracks, are they ranked or weighted, or do we do that, or we just say these are the 4 that we would like considered?
We can make that argument. There's no program requirement or anything like that, but we could describe to the governor's office, because I don't think they're going to have a good feel on why to pick particular census tracts in Lake County. Like, they can run the demographic information, but they're not going to have a good handle on kind of the development picture here, kind of what are the local idiosyncrasies or community concerns, are like what do we think is actually more likely for something to occur. So I think, you know, it's just, we shouldn't just provide like 5 census tract numbers. We should provide a narrative why we think this makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Any supervisor?
Actually, we're on the same wavelength today. I was thinking the ranking system, as well as the next two down, if you could bring back to us, and just in case we have some kind of thoughts, like, you know. So I was going to say go 5 or 6 deep.
Sure. We can structure it that way.
Yeah, thank you.
Looks like nothing further, but it sounds like we have consensus for direction. So we'll go ahead and close that item. Thank you, Mr. Rickelman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Next, we're going to move on to our 6.7, which was a 10:30 item. Second reading, consideration of an ordinance amending Article V111 of Chapter 18 of the Lake County Code to implement a low-value property tax exemption. And we have our tax collector and assessor both here to present this item. Who would like to start? Mr. Sullivan? Or?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I can lead off. I'm Patrick Sullivan, County Treasurer, Tax Collector. So you've seen this item before. This is the second reading of the low value ordinance. We did want to make your board aware of a potential, at least temporary solution that we have, and we would request a withdrawal of the item at this time. And if it would please the board, we could provide some background about the solution we're exploring and sort of what that pathway would look like.
Yes, please.
All right. So our office has been working on this issue considerably over the last few months. We did identify a revenue and taxation code section that empowers both the tax collector's office and the auditor controller's office to address these bills in another way. Because the cost of collections outweighs the actual value of the bills once it gets to the auction stage. If the auditor controller's office and our office agree, we can cancel that individual bill, which then prevents the necessity of going to auction under the state rules and guidelines and what the state controller has asked. But it doesn't really solve this problem in a long-term way. The low value ordinance was a way to solve it going forward. We understood that the issue with the low value ordinance is that there's differently situated parties. You know, the city of Clear Lake has parcels that they see future development opportunity for. The county has parcels where there very well may be no development opportunity, but we want to find a solution, whether it's the land trust, another agency, some way to deal with these properties in a more permanent manner. I think what this solution can do is that it can buy more time, which I know has been a request from the board and the city in the past. This preserves the option to sell these properties or to put them to use in another way if we can identify it. So we would ask that the Board of Supervisors, the county, the cities, that we all continue to move forward on a long-term solution. Because I do just want to be clear, this is not a great long-term solution. Every year, our offices are going to continue to touch these properties. We're going to have to manually do these adjustments. So I don't want to say that this is free. We are, having to basically combat the state framework and our own software system to make this work, to buy us all the time, to investigate other solutions. So I really want to highlight that I hope we all continue to go forward and identify solutions so that we're not doing this forever.
So I'll just chime in on that. So kind of like Patrick described. Is that on? No.
You gotta press it.
There we go.
There you go.
Good now?
Yeah.
Okay. You know how much I like the microphone. So just want to reiterate is like what Patrick just described is the framework doesn't eliminate pretty much any cost until it gets to the point that it's going to be auctioned. So many years in the future, all that cost, all that work has been done. As it is now, you're only solving that last little bit that is creating, a possible issue of the issues we've talked about in the past, right? So from a fiscal standpoint, if we don't see kind of a solution, we're going to give ample time, a couple of years hopefully, but if we don't see a solution, we're probably going to be forced to coming right back with the low value ordinance because that's the logical answer. There's still the cost, there's still the issue on the operational side that we have these costs that are not really functional due to the way it is. So like Patrick said, this is not a long-term fix. This is in light of everything that we've been able to find, Patrick and the auditor have been able to find, and in light of everything we've talked about in the last couple meetings, this is a good temporary Band-Aid, I guess would be the answer. But the goal would be, and we are champion you guys and are here to give you anything we got. As far as, work through, I know in my office, at a certain point for the mergers, certain things I touch with the mergers, I can investigate certain things with those codes and double check on the government side. If you go that route, there might be an avenue for there. But we're here to work with you guys, but this is not a long-term fix. I just want to reiterate, this is a short-term, give everybody some time, probably a couple years, but then if a couple years have passed and nothing's happened, we're probably going to be back and doing the exact same thing for the exact same reasons. So I think it's a good move.
I believe Supervisor Sabatier was first.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for finding a temporary solution, and that's absolutely what it is. I also think that it allows us to still take in certain revenues that this would have erased entirely at one point or another, because it's still about, if I'm correct, $290,000 of low value properties that comes in as tax dollars. It's not, I believe it's not all of ours, but it's still a certain amount that we would be losing because there's still 60 to 70% that pay their taxes. At this point, that would remain as revenues in the simple format of just sending out the bills and getting those paid, while we continue to make efforts. And I've given you my word that we are already at the table. We're going to continue to be at the table and figure out how to solve this problem. I also want to make sure and give kudos to somebody who is not here today, because I believe that this solution was found by Genevieve Harrington, and I just want to thank her as well as the team for continuously looking for options rather than being stuck with the one that you were bringing us. And obviously hearing us, that some of us had concerns about how this was going to work, but this is absolutely not a long-term fix. We need to continue the conversations, and we need to show some progress, because if there's no progress being made in truly solving the issue, then this is just a Band-Aid with no change whatsoever. And so I'm not in it for that. I'm in it for the changes that we're going to make.
Let Jessica go first.
Or Supervisor Pyska.
I was basically going to say, I think we're all going to say the same thing. We're really thankful that we're able to come up with this creative short-term fix, but I think the idea is we all are going to get together, commit to next steps, make sure that we're showing progress, deal with these problematic properties, get them to a place where we don't have to deal with them, and then come back for the low value ordinance when we have fewer concerns. So, great. What are the next steps? Is that meeting with the city? I know the city's had conversations. Like, what do you envision the next steps to be?
So I am aware, I believe there's 2 supervisors that are kind of committed to working on it. Okay, so yeah, Supervisor Crandall and Rasmussen, I believe, are going to be in the lead on that. And again, as Mr. Ford said, we stand by ready to support any ideas, anything that we can do to help, whether it's targeted sales, whatever we can identify, and we'll continue to work with the city. We've been having meetings with the city of Clear Lake, and yeah, I still think that's the underlying issue, though, is that I don't think anyone has yet to identify a solution that is going to solve all of these, and it may be a variety of solutions that fixes it.
Yeah, layering of solutions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, is this a chair-created ad hoc committee with the 2 supervisors?
It was already.
Oh, right, we already did the ad hoc. That's right, okay. Perfect. Well, thank you both for bringing this, and thank you to the city also for being part of the conversation.
Supervisor Owen.
Yeah, I want to thank you again. Ditto what my 2 colleagues have stated. For me, I think I'd mentioned it last time, but in case I didn't, I just didn't want to lose the opportunity to allow those taxes to accumulate and to be able to possibly acquire a number of these lots if they're in and be able to merge some of them to make larger parcels for maybe some neighborhood parks, perhaps they want to have a spot for bicycles or something. So to be, if it's out on the east side, maybe some trails. So that was one of the things I think I had mentioned last time, but I couldn't remember for sure. So I appreciate the extra thought, and we know that there's more than one way to skin a cat, so this is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add that the paper subdivision or paper parcels document, that's what we'll be following up a meeting about to try and help you with at least those areas that we're struggling with, to make sure that there's a plan on that end. Like you said, it's like a multifaceted thing that needs to happen. It's too bad, but that's just the way it is. We've inherited this from the old days of come by property on the side of a hill and you're gonna love your view. And, oh, by the way, pay for your roads and everything else. So we'll be on that, and we'll reinvigorate. I know that there's been a lot of work put into that document, so we're going to have to reinvigorate that and bring it forward, and we'll have something to help you at least get further on the initiative of this.
Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, just a request that I continue working with the city of Clear Lake and Patrick, Mr. Sullivan, for those issues, because I think the county's issues are different than the ones in the cities, and that way we have separate conversations, because these conversations have already begun. We do have a potential solution that I'd like to keep looking to see if that's a possibility, but that's not the solution for the county. Much different situation.
And I don't think there's a problem with that.
I think that it's two very different problems between the city of Clear Lake's parcels and the county's parcels. Yeah, in the
County Council?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just very briefly, because of the formation of the ad hoc committee, as long as those two issues are kept separate, in separate discussions, then it wouldn't be a serial meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm in agreement with, what's been said already. I appreciate the ongoing work that's been happening by all of our departments that are involved in the city of Clear Lake, and it's just a complex problem. So I appreciate the this resolution at this point, and much more work to do in the future.
Bless you.
And I think that's, we need to open it up to the public, and we'll start in the room. If you'd state your name for the record, please, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Yes, Greg Scott, Scotts Valley Road. I see in many counties I've worked in, I've seen the same problem. As you work towards a solution down the road, I think you're on the right track. I agree with what the board's focusing on. You might look at the different entities within the county that make up, for example, the veterans organizations, the rodeo association, people that are starving for locations to meet, that possibly can, through their budget, afford the taxes and the maintenance of a structure, but to accommodate more. And what's this do for the county? When you have a veterans museum that's being threatened down here in Safeway, that may have to move everything, here's an attraction for people coming here to see the history of Lake County. And that's just one example that you might consider as you focus down to the final resolve, how to get the word out to attract people, to enhance the county of things that are available to you, that can afford the taxes and maybe the upkeep of it, but get your community of organizations, your service clubs, people involved that are starving for these type of things. I just offer that. I hope I stayed within the scope of your thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone further in the room? If you
This will make some sense. Good morning, Chairman.
You state your name for the record, please.
I'm sorry. Well, I'm going to do it right now.
Okay.
Members of the board, my name is Robert Bocabella. I'm an owner of BDS Interior Design, as well as the chair of the Lake County Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Committee. I appreciate the opportunity to address the board today. Recently, the Government Affairs Committee became aware of a proposal intended to decrease the operating costs of the tax collector's office through the adoption of a low-value ordinance. While the business community recognizes the importance of reducing costs to improve efficiency and strengthen the bottom line, It is essential to undertake a thorough evaluation process, and you're doing it, but here we go. This process must ensure that any changes do not unintentionally disrupt business operations or negatively impact customers, in your case, your constituents and business community. One of the primary concerns is that removing properties from the tax rolls would eliminate the jurisdiction's ability to place liens on properties. Liens are an important tool for holding property owners accountable for the upkeep of their properties and preventing blight. Although in theory a lien could still be applied, if the property is never subject to a tax sale, the effectiveness of such a lien is questionable. Without the prospect of a tax sale, the motivation to impose a lien and its subsequent influence diminishes significantly. Given these issues, the Lake County Government Affairs Committee and the Board of Directors strongly recommend that the board delay the action, thank you, on the proposed ordinance. We urge the board to consider the following questions before proceeding, and this is why I wanted to speak. How will the removal of these properties from the tax rolls impact the future condition of the properties and code enforcement's ability to prevent and address blight? Our county is already facing a backlog of cleanup and enforcement cases. 2, if there are fewer tools and incentives for code enforcement, what will encourage increased efforts to maintain community standards? Similarly, what incentives will the county have to motivate landowners to keep their properties clean and well maintained? 3, fire risk and financial responsibility. If a property owner neglects to maintain the property, how will the county address the increased risk in the absence of the ability to fine or lien the property? Furthermore, if an uninsured house is destroyed by fire and its value falls below the threshold for a tax sale, what becomes of the property? Who will be financially responsible for cleaning up the site? 4, we also recognize the North Shore lots have certain development limitations, and there may be interest in eventually converting these areas for
We'll
recreational
have to wrap up.
use.
We're at the 3 minutes.
I can submit this to you
Yes,
guys.
please.
So it's in a record, but
You're
just
free to email it to us. and
yeah,
we'll-
absolutely. Actually, I can hand it to you.
If you could leave it there, the clerk can grab it.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank
But
you.
Thank you again for finding a resolution, and
Thank
thank you,
you.
Patrick.
Do we have anyone else in the room?
Thank you, guys.
We have City Manager Flora coming up.
Hello again, Chair, board members. I'll be brief. Appreciate where this is going. This is a very significant concern for the city. I do need to apologize to Ms. Harrington because when I found out about this plan, I called Patrick a genius, and apparently it was her, but I still think you're very smart. So anyway, I just really appreciate the back and forth, willingness to work. The plan that we were planning to bring to you today is something I still think that the city's committed to doing to addressing this problem over the long term. So thanks again for what it looks like, which is you're going to be tabling the second reading, and we'll work on solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Not seeing any. Do we have anyone online, Johanna? No hands. I'm going to bring it back to the board for any further comments, or I believe, we're looking at a withdrawal of this ordinance, so that's going to result in, if that's the request, no action probably from the board. So, do you want to say anything, Mr. Quintabano?
So with the withdrawal of the ordinance, there is no second reading, there's no, the ordinance is not being offered, therefore it's not being adopted, and therefore will not be in effect.
Thank you. Then we'll go ahead and close this item. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to
Thank you,
Ms.
both of
Harrington
you.
as well, who I
All
don't believe
three.
was online. With that, we're going to move on to our non-timed, and I'm going to start with 7.2, which is consideration of the following advisory board appointments. And there was an erratum to this item, so it's going to include Central Region Town Hall, Middletown Area Town Hall, Scotts Valley Community Advisory Council, and the Law Library Board of Trustees. And what we'll do is we'll have discussion with the board before action, and then we'll open it for public comment and then come back for final motions. I'll start with with mine, the Scotts Valley Advisory Council, and we have, I believe, 2 applicants for 2 openings, which I'm good with, and we'll go then to discussion on, unless there's anything further on Central Region.
No, I'm fine with the
Okay.
person. Yeah.
Middletown area,
I'm good with who's been proposed.
Law Library Board of Trustees, is there any?
He's great.
Long timer.
Okay. Then with that, we will go ahead and open it up to the public if there's any public comment in the room about this item. Not seeing anyone online, Johanna? Okay. We'll bring it back to the board and we can take, I guess, nominations all at once, Mr. Gintabano? Or should we do it by each one?
By each
Region.
Each
entity,
region?
yes.
Okay. So we'll start with Central Region Town Hall.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll motion to appoint reappoint Atlas Pearson for the Central Region Town Hall.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Middletown area?
I'd like to propose that we appoint Dave Campbell, Elizabeth Kershaw, and Shannon Sanders as regular board members, and Nanette DeSanto as the alternate.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries 5-0. Does somebody want to handle Scotts Valley?
I'm not sure about that Greg Scott character, though. Move to approve Joel Cobble and Greg Scott to the Scotts Valley Advisory Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? That motion carries. Move on to the Law Library Board of Trustees.
Mr. Chair, I move that we appoint Dennis Fordham to the Law Library Board of Trustees.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? That motion carries. And that concludes that item. We're going to move on to our 7.3, second reading, consideration of an ordinance to amend Chapter 21, Articles 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 18, 19, 27, and 68 of the Lake County Zoning Code to implement General Plan 6 Cycle Housing Element Policies HE-38, 38, HE-59, HE-60, HE-61, HE-71, HE-72, and HE-73. We have our Community Development Director. Turn it over to you at this point.
Thank you. Maria Turner, Community Development Director. The item you have before you today has come before you twice already. It is accomplishing a number of housing element implementation tasks from the 6th cycle housing element. It was placed on non-timed due to a non-unanimous vote previously. It has also been amended for a few corrections, an inadvertent omission of a definition and some typographical errors to be corrected, and is before you today for second reading.
When did it come before us last? Do you remember?
It was January 9th the first time, and then we
Redo it again.
did it again. We did a second first reading. I think it might have been
13th.
last week.
13th?
I think it was the 13th.
Okay, anything further?
I have nothing further to add, but I'm
Anything-
happy to answer
questions
any
from the
questions.
board at this point? Not seeing anything further, we'll go ahead and open it up to the public. Is there any members of the public in the room that wish to comment? And not seeing any, and there's no hands online, so I'll bring it back to the board for action.
I offer the ordinance.
The ordinance has been offered.
Supervisor Owen,
Aye.
Supervisor Sabatier,
Aye.
Supervisor Crandall,
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska,
Yes.
and Supervisor Rasmussen.
Aye. That carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe we're down to 2 items. So I'm going to go ahead and call 5.1 item, which was pulled at the request of Supervisor Sabatier. That is to approve out-of-state travel for District 5 Supervisor Jessica Pyska to attend National Association of Counties, NACO, Western Interstate Region, WIR Conference in Maui County, Hawaii, from May 4th to 8th, 2026. And go ahead, Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, I just wanted to at least speak on it because there's been quite a bit of public comments that we've received regarding this, and I just needed to speak up. I think that in the past, Lake County was a little shy about reaching outside and learning from others to bring back what we learned to the county in order to do better. Yes, this is probably not the greatest timing, and yes, Maui is a unique place that sounds like a great vacation, but I have gone alongside Supervisor Pyska, whether we've been in, I don't think you were at Tampa Bay actually, but we've been together in different NACO settings, and there is no time to enjoy other than the networking and the learning sessions that you go to. And I think that we should learn as much as we can and bring back what we learned to our county and not limit ourselves. Again, I'm going to say what I said earlier. Yes, there are very important and urgent things that are happening and that are needed to have our attention to, but that doesn't mean that we can't walk and chew gum at the same time. And to me, this is not a problem. This is a focus that you have had for quite some time, that you're very involved with, and I just felt the need to speak up because the majority of the comments were coming from my district, that I'm in full support of this, and I know that you've reached out asking what you can do to help with the sewer spill, and you still have a phone, you still have an email, and I just think that we should continue what has been started, which is being part of our CRC and making sure that we're not just there as a warm body, but there as an actual participant, being part of NACO and being part of CSAC. These are important things that we should continue to do, and I hope that the next Board of Supervisors after us will continue. And I just wanted to share my support and speak up to that. Yes, from the outside, the optics may not look good, but the fact is, this is useful. And I don't want it to be stopped, and I don't want the negative comments. There's still 4 of us here. I'm leaving at the end of the month to go to Washington, D.C. for NACO, and I am going to go there because I have a commitment that I need to hold up, and I will continue my commitment as well to my community while I'm there by communicating with the folks that are here on the ground and do the work continuously. So I just felt the need to at least speak up on that and share my support publicly rather than just through just normal consent.
Thank you, and I want to comment too. I mean, I did receive the public comments and look at them. A couple of things. I mean, we don't select where, NACO selects where these things are going to happen. That's not something that we select, and I get, you know, the location potentially being questioned, but I also want to comment that the cost of this conference is really no different than many other things we do. It was virtually almost the same cost to per supervisor to send us to the recent annual California State Association of Counties Conference, which is happening here in our own state. So I think I just want to make that clear that this is not a extreme cost compared to everything else we do also. So I just, since it's being discussed, I wanted to mention that. Do we have anything else from the board? No. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the public, and we'll start in the room. Sir, go ahead and come up and state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to comment.
Pat Ridgel from Lucerne. I appreciate the comment about chewing gum and walking and the cost of the whole thing. Maybe the problem here is a competency. The competency is simply this. These are 3 tickets that I put in. I guess you call them requested by receipts for Public Works to simply have somebody come out and take a look at the roads in Conote. These were put in March of '24, darn near 2 years ago. I've had no contact, even though I have been into this board years past, been a little busy since.
Is this still related to the conference? 'Cause
How can we
we're-
afford to go to the conference if we can't afford to even send somebody out to fix our roads? Or just investigate the roads, to look at the roads? None of that's happening. I have been up to Public Works. I've asked them, they have canceled these and then brought them back online because they made a mistake. We have a problem here. The roads in the county are coming apart. They're knocking axles off of trucks. And yet we can't get somebody from Public Works to come out and take a look at the roads.
Well, I
I've been
understand,
told
sir,
we
hang
don't
on a
have the
second.
equipment.
Hang on a second, we're getting off track. That's more suited for the general public comment. You made the point that it's tied into cost, but right now we're talking about whether or not we're going to approve sending a supervisor
Yes, sir.
to a conference.
Yes, we are. We're going to send a supervisor to Hawaii to talk about emergency things like Lahaina, when we could send them just as easily. They're just as incompetent as we are in LA right now about that kind of thing. My problem with this is we're going to Hawaii and we can't even fix our own county. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else in the room? If you could state your name for the record.
Yes, Greg Scott, at Scotts Valley Road. I think the word is integrity, and that's what you represent on this board. As you are elected by us, we expect not only service and the respect and the excellence of performance, but the integrity of what we do. I have no doubt that all of you and your trips hold integrity as much as you're being elected and being relied upon there. I'm not doing this as a reminder, but I do see strong integrity from this board of all the things that you're doing that you feel is the best for our citizens. So as you go on your trips and your experience there, carry the integrity of this county and its people to be strong for us and to allow us to believe in there. I think the people, the citizens of this county need to be reminded about the integrity of the commitment, the long hours, and all the things that you take away from your home lives and your family to serve us, and that integrity speaks loudly. So think of integrity as the way to ensure to the citizens in situations like this that we're here to serve the best, and you can trust with us. Wish the best for each of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead and state your name for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Supervisors, Margot Kambara. I would like to echo the support that Supervisor Sabatier had voiced on this subject. It's important for our public officials to do the best for their constituents. And I, as a member of the public, appreciate the striving and the commitment to continuous learning by your board. And yes, that may mean joining other outside organizations and traveling outside the county. Yes, that could be a burden financially, but it's also an opportunity for us to network and to get new ideas, collaborate with others who are facing the same challenges that we are in Lake County. So the other bonus of having this conference in Maui is to see firsthand, in person, how is Maui coping with fire, life after fire disaster? What can we learn from Maui's experience? And what can we do to apply to, as one of the priorities that Supervisor Pyska has shared with us is post-disaster. There's a lot of work that needs to be done post-disaster. Maui can teach us a lot. And networking with the people who are at that conference can be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Not seeing any. We'll go to online. Cassandra, we'll unmute you. You'll have 3 minutes if you can state your name for the record.
Hi, this is Cassandra Holbert, again, Clear Lake resident. I want to formally oppose approving out-of-state travel to Maui at this time. Lake County is in an active emergency response. Residents are displaced, 24 days living without safe water now. Approving taxpayer-funded travel to Hawaii sends the wrong message to these affected residents. Even if travel is routine or budgeted, I'm not against travel. Optics matter, and so does leadership presence during this crisis. I'm respectfully asking the board to defer or deny this request until this emergency can be fully resolved. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Rachel, we'll unmute you. If you can state your name again for the record, please, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Rachel White, and I'm a registered voter in District 5, which is Ms. Paiska's district. I find it ironic that people keep saying we can walk and chew bubblegum. That was one of the phrases used during the February 25th meeting when Ms. Paiska said, I don't see how collaborating with the county or with the city of Clear Lake would benefit the county. And that was in anticipation of a potential sewage disaster. This morning I wrote, or excuse me, last evening I wrote Ms. Paiska a letter. I said, you are asking the county to fund out-of-state travel to the Western Interstate Regional Conference in Hawaii. The justification provided is broad and non-specific. As written, it does not clearly explain why this particular trip is necessary or how it will directly benefit Lake County residents. If that connection exists, it should be clearly and publicly articulated. Again, another failure of the person who puts your board packet together. Track record and context matter. You were openly critical of reallocating county funding or staff time to collaborate with the city of Clear Lake on preventing a sewage spill, stating that you could not see how that effort benefited the county. Regardless of how the final vote turned out, you voted against those preventative efforts, and the county ultimately experienced a serious and costly incident. Why then should our money be allocated to fund your personal endeavors? In your own district, road paving was redirected to your neighborhood, starting with your own road. It's since gone significantly over budget and from what I understand remains incomplete. Felled trees still have not been fully cleared, creating ongoing problems for homeowners. Rebuilding after the Cobb fires continues to be slow. Housing remains limited, and the Cobb schools are now facing possible closure due to declining enrollment. The commitment to spending over $1 million on the purchase and remodel of the Kelseyville Senior Center rather than any other option is appalling. And we can't forget when you quietly voted to give yourself a 40% raise in December of 2022. Taken together, this context makes it difficult to justify discretionary travel spending. In the midst of an unresolved local problems and given your opposition to preventive spending, asking taxpayers to fund travel requires a higher level of transparency and justification that has not been provided. If the county funds are going to be used for this purpose, the public deserves a clear, specific explanation of why this expense is necessary. What outcomes are expected? And I don't mean a hypothetical, this could benefit the county, something real and tangible. And what's happening in your district is not a demonstration of real and tangible benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else? iPhone 7, if you could state your name for the record.
Guy Laylaw. And I just wanted to kind of let you guys know that the people are speaking right now. They're not speaking against the travel or against the collaboration, but they're speaking against the decision to send Paiska to the Hawaii meeting. And it's more importantly against what was said and how it was said. The way that you act as supervisors matter. What you say matters. And when those words dismiss, minimize, or talk past public concern, the public and your constituents hear it and they are reacting. The frustration you're hearing today didn't appear out of nowhere. It comes from comments that signal the public's opposition was an inconvenience rather than something to be weighed with seriousness. That is why the people are upset. That is why they are standing up today, and that is why the public is speaking clearly, repeatedly, respectfully, but firmly. Yet it feels and it seems sadly that this board is prepared to ignore the opposition of the public and move forward anyway. And when that happens, your trust within the public is going to end. Not because the people didn't get it their way, but because they weren't treated as partners and as people in the process. Public engagement is not a box to check after decisions are already made. It is supposed to mean something. And this is a moment for reflection, not defensiveness, justification, but for accountability. You as supervisors need to listen to what the people are actually saying. Acknowledge the concern and understand that leadership is not just about the authority. It is about the restraint, the humility, and the respect for the public that you serve. Muleham.
Thank you. No more hands. I'm going to go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the board for action. Or, I'm sorry, Supervisor, I didn't see.
Yeah, no worries. I wanted to thank the comments made from the public, but I appreciate what's said. I understand the concern and the worry. When we pass the budgets, there is an item for travel when it comes to that. I know that I travel on different events. However, RCRC pays for that travel. I don't know if CSAC covers your expenses when you go to those, but I know that RCRC covers, when I go to that, wherever it's at. When I went to DC one time with RCRC, it was paid through RCRC as well. And then with Farm, Ranch, and Rural Communities, when I'm on that national board, they pay for me to go as well. So this budget still stays within an amount that could basically afford sending you because it's still there. So it's not as if we're pulling it from the general fund. And I'm just trying to make sure everyone understands we vote on this budget a while back, so this is still intact. This isn't loaning the money from the general fund and sending somebody or doing anything like that. It's basically spending a budget we already passed. The optics, of course, do seem like it would be bad to go to Hawaii or whatever the case may be. I get that, but at the same time, that's where NACO chose to have it. That's where the Western Interstate Region is. And the work I know that Supervisor Pyska does, if you follow like some of these articles that come out with NACO and all the other agencies, she's a lot of time is working in that capacity to talk about what we've went through here, especially considering the community of Cobb going through what they did back during those time frames. So, I understand the concern, I understand the scrutiny, but at the same time, there is a value and a benefit to this, which is already approved through a budget we passed. So I think the next time that we come to the table and talk about budget for travel, that may be where you come forward and say, hey, don't put any money towards travel and let's just focus inward. But at the same time, I've witnessed and been a part of different things in different areas where I've networked and things have got done here because of that networking and because of that opportunity to speak to a Secretary of Transportation or the natural resources or whatever, sitting right next to that person, which I wouldn't have got if I didn't go on these trips. So just letting you know there is a value. We just went down to Southern California. That's probably something that's going to bear fruit for us as well. So there's times when we really do need to make the opportunity to speak to different folks, give the insight to it, and who knows, maybe the people from Hawaii will come here and see how we dealt with things before, whatever the case may be. I don't know if that's what's going to happen there. I'm just throwing things out there. Not throwing things out there, but I'm just giving you insight as to how things end up developing.
Supervisor Pyska.
I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate the public's comments. And I do appreciate the board's support because ultimately all travel comes at the direction of this board. This was a conference that I wasn't planning on going to, and Supervisor Sabatier and I had a lot of discussion about it. WIR typically happens in the spring. It's a difficult time for me to be away from my family, but the reason ultimately I made the decision to go is because the disaster task force that I sit on with NACO is sponsoring many of the sessions during the conference. And to continue that work, the task force is now pushing through 2026. Hopefully we'll be wrapping up in July at our annual meeting. But the work that I'm specifically doing with the Intergovernmental Development Task Force is bipartisan FEMA reform. And we have a lot of money that comes into our county from through FEMA. We also miss out on a lot of opportunities because of our population, because we are in California, and the work that we're doing with the task force will hopefully change that so that when we have future disasters, we will be able to access more FEMA dollars, spend them down, and keep the money that is currently in the county that is at risk of leaving. So this is really critical work for our county. Whenever I go, I tell our story, I advocate for us, I network. I work really hard at these conferences, and I know I've been to conferences with each of you, and we work together as a team when we're there. What's really interesting about Lahaina and at the recovery of the Maui fires is the Maui delegation does come to Sonoma County every September, and I meet with them. And one of the things that we talk about is the similarities. We have a volcano just like the volcano next to Lahaina. We have a community on that volcano. So there are a lot of similarities. We have already learned from each other, and there's a lot more work to do. So I appreciate the difficult conversation. This decision is made by this board, and I respect the decision of the board. And I do know that we bring back so much when we travel. We all have that opportunity to do, and it really lifts our communities in Lake County.
Thank you. Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, I just kind of want to turn it around a little bit. Completely understand the frustration that we're hearing, especially from the folks that are at Ground Zero off of Robin Lane and Pamela Lane and that whole area right there. It's been almost 4 weeks, and it's been tough, depending on who you are. We have some folks that are elderly and have disabilities. We have some folks with kids. We have some folks with businesses. Everybody's dealing with this in a very different way, variety of ways. And so I just want to acknowledge the frustration of being in that situation and, again, seeing the optics of what this looks like. And so what I can say is nothing changes on the funding made available or the funding that may need to be made available in the future to continue and deal with this emergency, and nothing changes on those that have feet on the ground that are working to make change for those folks that are out there. And I mean no offense to Supervisor Pyska, but your absence is not going to change that. And so, yes, the optics and the frustration because of their situation and the changes they've had to go through over the last few weeks is very real and should be acknowledged. But that this will not change the outcome of and the work of what is being done currently. So I just wanted to at least make that statement.
Supervisor Owen.
I also would like to address the gentleman in the back that had mentioned about the roads. And I don't know if you've filled out a new request lately, but you might want to do that. We do have a different director for our roads department than when we did a couple years ago. Interim director. And the road crew that we have is phenomenal. So I can't say enough about them, so please retry. I know I get a lot of complaints myself for my area, and what I normally do is I have everybody contact our Public Works Department and then CC me in it as well. So if they don't get response in a couple weeks, I can follow up. So if that helps a little bit, because this trip will not affect the roads either. It's a different budget. So, but I would recommend that.
I will do that, thank you.
You're welcome.
It appears nothing I've done in the last 2 years has affected the roads either.
Well, we have somebody different, so, and he's good.
Thank you. Anything further?
Yeah, I'm just gonna, I don't want to get too far off subject, but I will talk to you, Pat. There's been 3 different directors since what you've been talking about, because previous Supervisor Jeff Smith and another gentleman had come to me 3 or 4 years ago about this, and we've passed it to each and every other one. I'll get more in detail with you. If you're still here when we take our next break, I'll talk with you. If not, I can call you and we'll go from there.
All right. It looks like we're ready for action.
I guess I'll make it. I move that we approve out-of-state travel for District 5 Supervisor Jessica Pyska to attend the National Association of Counties, NACO's Western Interstate Region WIR Conference in Maui, Hawaii from May 4th to 8th, 2026.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. We're going to move on next to our last open session item, which is 7.1, Supervisor's Weekly Calendar, Travel, and Reports. Anybody ready to start? Supervisor Crandall.
So we have, I have Worth tomorrow. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Earth. East Region Town Hall tomorrow. Spring Valley CSA, Thursday, AAA Governing Board. And then Fridays be dealing with constituents and if not other things to catch up on, because there's quite a bit. And then we'll be back Monday with the Central Region Town Hall meeting, and then back here Tuesday for the Board of Supervisors meeting.
Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, starting off the day tomorrow with the executive committee from the Area Planning Council. Then meeting with some folks a little bit after that. I have my NACO Health Steering Committee meeting starting at 12, going to be a little bit longer. We're going over all of the resolutions that have been submitted, and we'll see how that goes. Starting off the Judge's Breakfast, I'm the host of Judge's Breakfast this month. We're starting off with LARCA to explain all the work that they do during all the emergencies in helping businesses and others be able to recover, and meeting with the Veterans Council later on that day. Then a meeting with the CSAC folks to get things started for the Administration of Justice Committee. I've been designated to continue as the chair for that, so gonna engage with all the co-chairs. Then I am going to have a meeting that I need to tell Supervisor Owen about regarding veteran housing. And that's also through the Continuum of Care. And later on that afternoon, most likely going into the evening, is the Continuum of Care monthly general meeting and executive committee meeting, and then going to the Clear Lake City Council. I did miss, it's not on my calendar, added in there. On Wednesday at 6 p.m. is going to be the next town hall regarding the sewer spill, and please be there if you're impacted, or look for the Zoom connection so that you can watch it live. On Friday, I have some family stuff that I'm going to be dealing with, and Monday, starting off with an encampment resolution funding, getting ready for our 10th meeting, and going to our lived experience meeting over at Hope Center in the city of Clear Lake, and then been invited to join the Chamber of Commerce that day. Better find out exactly where I need to be, and then I'll be back here on Tuesday.
When is that meeting?
Thank you.
That you just mentioned?
It is on, sorry, I just got lost.
Was it Thursday?
2 p.m. on Thursday.
Okay. All right.
Supervisor Owen, are you ready to report?
Yeah. I just was, what's that?
We'll connect.
Okay.
afterwards.
I was just going to put on my calendar. I don't have my calendar done, obviously, but let me get to here. Tomorrow, I have 3 meetings set up right now. There may be more. I start off with Langtree, which is Gwinnett Winery, at Gwinnett Winery. And then I have 2 others. One of them is on parking in Middletown, and one of them is to do with the lake pack. I have Judge's Breakfast. I'm going to try to make the Judge's Breakfast on Thursday. And I have several other meetings, I just don't have it completed. So I can't give you details, but a lot of them are working with irons that I currently have in the fire.
Thank you. Supervisor Pyska?
Yeah, I want to just take a moment to air something because I am also on CSAC AENR this year, and I've asked for a working group with RCRC. And so I wanted to tell both of you at the same time so that we don't have a Brown Act violation. But it's around Sigma, and it's around specifically, so I had a call yesterday with the CSAC staff on this because Big Valley is a basin of medium concern, and we have had issues here at this board trying to figure out how to fund that so we can stay in compliance. And at the annual meeting, I met with Pat Blacklock and Supervisor Cottrell and Supervisor Burns to have a request for a joint working group so that we, I think Chair Rasmussen and I can focus the work on Big Valley. So I wanted you to be aware and you to be aware without having conversations with both of you. So the new lobbyist that is with CSAC with AENR right now, Charles, has been to Lake County. He has worked on Sigma. No one really wants to crack open Sigma again because it was so difficult to pass, but there are real issues, specifically in medium basins like we have, that I think were overlooked when the legislation, or maybe weren't contemplated when the legislation was put together. So that's the first thing I just wanted to make sure you guys knew about, and then I will talk with Chair Rasmussen about it. Is that okay?
Well, that's
Or you-
good. No, I already kind of knew, because they brought it up at RCRC, that they would be reaching out to you.
Okay.
But I'll leave it at that, because I don't, again, they told me they were contacting you. And I said, that's best, because Brad is the, so just letting you know. I kind of knew, but at the same time, I was letting them kind of play that out, so.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay, whew, got that figured out. Glad we had the opportunity to do calendars. It's been a while. So tomorrow I have my NACO Energy, Environment, and Land Use Committee meeting, which is also going to be long because we have a lot of resolutions, and I'm hopefully working on one of them myself. So I've got a lot of work to do getting through all those resolutions, and still have a very long list of phone calls from yesterday I didn't get quite through. And Thursday, agenda review with Chair. I have an insurance and home hardening meeting, and I also have, I'm not sure how I'll make this one because they're overlap, the benefit assessment zone meeting with CDD and the HOAs. And then Friday, I am meeting with Letitia Hankey again to talk about the work that's happening in our county. And then I'm officiating a wedding here in the chambers. And Monday, I just have my meeting with CAO Parker, and then back on the 10th.
Has anyone else done a wedding?
I have not.
You've done one?
I'm doing one on Friday. That's my family thing.
This is my second one.
I'm on 5, so.
Are you advertising?
You win, yeah.
I can't help it.
Thank you for that. And you're concluded?
I'm concluded.
One of the side gigs.
Yeah, we haven't done a report for several weeks because of the special meetings, but I've had a lot of different community meetings over the past few weeks. Municipal council meetings, Big Valley and Scotts Valley. Had an EMCC meeting. We had the pit count that happened during that time. Attended the second Pomo Cultural Series at Soper Reese, which was for Scotts Valley. That was excellent. And I guess there's going to be, I think, 3 or 4 more. So looking forward to those. Went to the Martin Luther King Unity Day. Tried to attend the city council meeting in Lakeport tonight. We did have a LAFCO meeting. Also had an animal control advisory committee meeting a week or so ago. we did Public Safety Awards last Sunday and recognized 16 law enforcement and firefighters throughout the county for their work in 2025. So I appreciate the board's support in issuing those proclamations that we handed out at that event. Had a First Five Commission also. It had been a while, but we had a North Coast EMS committee meeting. Had a special Mental Health Advisory Board meeting. I did a road and creek drainage area cleanup, Soda Bay Road and Big Valley Roads over the weekend, where we covered quite a bit of garbage. Then, let's see, yesterday I did go down and thank you to Director Bure for bringing me down, allowing me to come down to the Southeast Regional Sewer Treatment Facility, which is at the near the site of where the force main had the issue back on January 11th. But I really wanted to get more understanding of the Southeast Treatment Facility and how the system works down on that end of the county, because I've toured the other one here in my district. But so I appreciate that, to get some more knowledge and understanding of what's going on. And with that, that is it. The only thing we're going to have left after lunch is going to be closed session. Should I go ahead and read those out prior to lunch? And that'd be suitable, and then we can come back and just go right in? Yeah. Okay. So again, this will happen after we take our hour's lunch break, but the last item 8 of the day is going to be closed session. And the items are 8.1, Public Employee Evaluation, Title Special Districts Administrator. Item 8.2 is going to be a conference with labor negotiator. Conference with labor negotiator A, chief negotiator Susan Parker, and county negotiators Jay Salone, Stephen Carter, Casey Moreno, Pam Samick, and Diana Rico. And B, employee organization Deputy County Council Association. Item 8.3, which is going to be a conference with A, temporary resident representatives designated to meet with county department heads regarding salary and benefits, and B, unrepresented management employees. 8.4, which is going to be a conference with legal counsel on existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54.956.9 D1, FERC proceeding number P77, Potter Valley Hydroelectric Project. 8.5 is going to be a conference with legal counsel, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D2, and then sub E1 on 5 potential cases. Lastly, item 8.6, which will be a conference with legal counsel on a decision of whether to initiate litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D4, and that's 1 potential case. And with that, those will be the items that will go straight into closed session when we return at 1:05 p.m. And that concludes our open session portion of the board meeting. Thank you.